Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore, days of yore. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can see me. Last night, was it last night? Yesterday in the morning, whenever. Um, some technical difficulties with the audio. Could you hear me well? It was cutting in and out. The mic was malfunctioning. So do let me know if you can hear me. Also, let me know if the music is too low, too loud. Hello, how are you? Good morning from Jerusalem. The Hebrew faith and the journey. So Zingle Bingle, a long time ago, said this: what is the path the average Jewish person takes to be a Jew? In regards to scripture and lifestyle, thank you for the patience in regard to working through the thought. So Zingle Bingle K6I asked me this months ago, and I think she wanted me to do a video, but they're going to get it in live stream form because I didn't do the video. Looking at the question now, after not seeing it for several months, the path the average person takes to be a Jew, specifically, you're born into it or you convert. If you're talking about being a Jew in the sense of, let's say you're born into it and raised traditional or religious, or what is the path that you take in order to be somebody who's considered to be a Jew by that community, let's say, or by virtue not of birthright or conversion, but adherence to commandments, right? And having the framework and having the halacha and so on, if we're talking about the Orthodox thing. So if we're talking about conversion, I really don't know, since I'm not a convert. I know of sometimes it taking years, and sometimes like Hillel the sage at the time of the Second Temple, right? It's just, what is hateful unto you, don't do to your fellow. That is the entirety of the Torah. The rest is commentary. Go learn it all. Go learn it. Okay, so wait, let's see if the volume is messed up, goes up and down. That's not good. That's not so good. I wonder. Hey, what's up, Jake Matt? James Bong, I thank you for alerting me to this. Okay, you know what? Maybe without the music it will be better, though. If you're saying it's getting higher and lower, it's not that the music is overpowering. I'll leave the music on. Hey, good morning, Donkey Camel. Good to see you again. Good morning, Go JR Go. What's up, G Money, bro? You staying out of trouble? You know it. With a nice cup of coffee here in Jerusalem. 10:43 in the AM. Oh, had a good morning so far. Looking forward to a nice live stream. So the journey, right? So I grew up modern Orthodox in Jerusalem, from going to religious kindergartens from a very young age, from 3 years. I mean, we lived in a religious neighborhood. My first daycare was in the neighborhood, very close to home. And it was always a religious environment, whether it was daycare, kindergarten, grade school, middle school, high school. All of that was under the rubric, the category of mamlachti dati, meaning national religious. A lot of study of halacha, a lot of study of Torah, a lot of study of Mishnah. But something with the Mishnah that I remember vividly is I must have been second or third grade. And we needed to learn Mishnahs by heart. We needed to know them by heart. A few paragraphs. I remember not being prepared for one class. It was like T-minus 2 minutes. He's about to come in. I didn't prepare it. I didn't learn the Mishnahs by heart, the few Mishnayot we were supposed to learn. So in the 2 minutes remaining, I just asked everybody, hey, what did it say? What is it? Just really, really, really quickly. And then finally it was my turn and I got called on, but because a few people before me had already gone, I could kind of know what they were talking about and I was able to work through it. But I remember vividly in those moments thinking, why am I here standing up, scared, because I don't know Mishnahs by heart in the school that's trying to get me to learn it by heart when I don't even really quite know what I was saying there, not in depth, not even in the depths that maybe could have been for second or third grade. Just simply read it, memorize it, blurt it out. That's not all of kindergarten or grade school. A lot of ritualistic things, from the washing of the hands, the saying of the blessings. And it complemented what was at home. Not in the way that, do it like this because this. No, but in the way that this is how a Jew behaves. This is the path for Jews. My parents coming from New York and making Aliyah, right, and ascending to the land, the wonderful son and daughter of Zion that they are. They are religious hippies, and in the sense of the fact that they found their own middle ground and convenience and comfort within the bounds of halacha. They didn't, they basically taught us be a good person, respect other people, do what's right. That's what's good in the eyes of God. There was the ritualistic aspect of going to a synagogue, later on with the tefillin, right, with the phylacteries, a little before bar mitzvah, and then every day afterwards. There's that religious path that depends on the family. I can speak of my own family, and I can speak generally of what it was at the time. The national religious dati leumi at the time is vastly different, I'm told, than what it is now. I do not send my kids to religious schools. I'm not raising them religious. Hopefully, I'm raising them to be mentioned, to be good men. Time will tell. So that path continues with, again, middle school, high school, also religious. Now, I was in high school in a more pluralistic and liberal religious environment. And that's also where I learned a lot about Hasidism through history class that I was an advanced thing in. I did a extra credit on history, and it had to do with the beginning of Hasidism, and that sparked my lust for understanding more so, and my love of Kabbalah. The Jewish philosophy Machshavet Yisrael class is also something I took extra of. So as far as that path, when I turned into a teenager, I obviously was like, okay, I grew up religious. What the hell is that? What am I supposed to do with this? Do I truly believe it, or was I simply indoctrinated into it? I looked very briefly, as a teenager would, I suppose, at the time with school, and I don't know what my own hang-ups. But I took a look as if I don't know the Torah, as if I don't know the Jewish faith, and Islam, Buddhism, Levian Satanism, um, Christianity. Surface level, nothing more, not in depth, but enough to gain something about the religion, about the faith. And I thought to myself, they have their own great points, but I'm feeling more called to that tradition, obviously, that I grew up in. It wasn't even a question of comfort. It was a question of choice. I see Buddhism and Islam and Christianity, Levian Satanism, I see that as coming later. That does not necessarily mean that it's wrong and the Hebrew faith is right. But I thought if I'm trying to reach the root of something, let's go back to my ancestors' root, rather than go in a different direction that will end up in the same place, no doubt. However, especially when I was investigating, and so I was receiving answers and that things were being addressed, and there was a curiosity forming, growing, being cultivated, and it still is. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go heavily into it. I leaned more into it. I went to yeshiva for 3 years before the army, after high school. I said, I want to devote some time to Torah. It was supposed to be 1 year. I ended up staying for almost 3 years. Gladly, happily, lovely, swimming in that world of Torah and yeshiva, which is, now not every Jew goes to yeshiva, but this is about my path. So let's go back to the question. What is the path, asked Zingle Bingle, of the average Jewish person takes to be a Jew? So again, conversion we spoke of, it can go from here to there, from a few days to a few years. And regarding scripture, I mentioned oral Torah, and I mentioned written Torah, and I mentioned halacha as such. You learn Talmud, right? You learn Mishnah, you learn halacha, dinim. Jewish philosophy, if you're into that. We have focus classes in grade school on prophets or writings or both. Like I said, Jewish philosophy, which also sprinkled there sometimes, depending on the school you go to, of course. Right, so scripture and lifestyle. Lifestyle is something that is, of course, individualistic and idiosyncratic, but the religion, in the uniformity, there is also freedom, and in the discipline, there is liberty. In the sense of, yes, there are those who dress the same and look the same and act the same and talk the same and think the same and do the same. Cool. To each their own. My parents raised me to be an individual. continue to raise me to be an individual. And them finding their own path within Judaism affected me a lot because I understood, okay, so they have their ways, halacha is this, halacha is that, depending on who you go by. Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim, this and this are the words of the living God. However, I was also raised to have hills to die on, basically. Principles, fundamentals, to be very, very flexible, to be very, very live and let live. But to also know where you stick a flag in the ground and say, I'm gonna, this is right or die, so to speak. What else? After yeshiva, well, I guess, look, yeshiva influenced me greatly, and I still am carrying many, many things that I picked up in yeshiva, especially the yeshiva that I went to in Tzfat. Glorious, wonderful, beautiful, lovely. Such dibuk chaverim, such a closeness of friends, and such fellowship in that yeshiva. Now, granted, I haven't studied there. I studied there from age 18 to 20, and then I went into the army. And then I went 1 year in yeshiva after the army, where I worked half a day. I learned in the morning, and I worked in the evening. That was a glorious thing. So again, not every Jew goes to yeshiva. Not every Jew can have a year where they work half a day and learn half a day. Strike that. Reverse it. This was my thing. So let's go back to the question. Scripture. Okay, so in regards to scripture, many people will tell you it's best to simply do, to read the weekly Torah portion, say some psalms, maybe do Daf Yomi, the daily page of the Talmud or the Rambam, or Shulchan Aruch, halacha book. Scripture can be anything from what is it that you adhere to and the rabbi you follow, halacha that you carry out, or it can be actual scripture. What is it that you take with you? What is it that you go with? What is it that you're consuming? And then there is no average Jew here in this. We are all very, very different. My daily thing, for instance, is Parashat HaShavua, right? The weekly Torah portion. I enjoy going over it. I don't do it every single day, but I definitely try to learn some Torah every single day, if not the weekly Torah portion. And I learn different things on holidays and Sabbaths, the deeper Torah, as it were, though there is no comparing. It's all a different depth in its own level. So did I address the question? Yes, I did. Did I do it well? I don't think so. Let's go to the chat. Hello, good people. Hello, Freedom to Gargamel. Hey, good to see you again, man. Hey, Danielle, I'm sick of Israel evil. Yes. Evil. שהכל נהיה בדברו. Okay, let's lower this just a bit. Okay, cool. So, Olaf says, yes, there is an average Jew. It's the people that want to stay in the middle of nowhere and think that they have the right to do that. Just move to the middle of Utah and all of this BS. That's something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind. Hi from Australia. Hey, Mad Hatter. Hey, Mad Hatter 675. I gotta say, one of my favorite characters in Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. Hello, Josh Chavers. Hey, Faramar. I think you've been here before. What's with the hair? It is just regular hair. It just grows like that. I don't comb and I don't brush. I keep it clean, and that's it. I'm a Nazarite. Nazarites do not cut or shave their hair, the hair of the head. Are you Papa Strumpf? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Especially, I'm all about freedom for Gargamel. What's wrong with Utah? I don't know. I've never been to Utah, Cranky Mullet. I've never been there. How are you? Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Hey, Go JR Go says, you were here earlier. Nice to see your name again in the chat. What are your thoughts on Genesis? Tell me all the secrets. Well, alas, I do not know all the secrets, nor do I know any secrets. I will say this. Genesis is my favorite Torah portion, and the first verse of Genesis, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. I don't know. Let's put it this way: Tikkun Zohar has 70 different interpretations according to Kabbalah on that verse alone. The bit of Bereshit, says the New York Nazarite here on YouTube, Aleph Aleph. The bit of Bereshit already holds everything. Duality of the world and everything therein. You'll have to go somewhere else for the secrets. What I can tell you is that my thoughts on Genesis is that I believe the Genesis account, and I believe evolution, and I believe science, and I believe you can see things practically, technically, esoterically, allegorically, archetypally. I think that Genesis is the blueprint of all creation. I think Genesis is the blueprint of the linear and the cyclic or spherical elements of creation. What later is brought down as Igulim Veyosher in the Lurianic Kabbalah. The secrets are largely things you need to know about creation are in that chapter of the account of creation, and in that first verse where the 10 sfirot are already laid out in there, and where that bit of Bereshit, the bit is a letter that is open on one side, closed to the other, with a little tail leading back. And it's as if to say, now creation is open, but there's also, right, creation as you know it, heavens and earth, physical and metaphorical. But before that, before the bet comes the Aleph. The bet is the second word of the Hebrew alphabet, the Aleph, representing the crown, representing that which is unknown, comes before. That's my go-to on Genesis. What are your thoughts on Genesis, people? I simply love it. Have you ever spent any money? Well, if by spend you mean like frivolously, or do you mean like pay money for stuff? Yes, I've paid mucho dinero. A lot of shekels for a lot of stuff over the years. But I have spent money. Yes, I've spent, and I've spent well. And I've spent not as well. Hey, Shreya is here. Shreya. People say Jews have influenced and created all other currently existing religions on the planet. Do you agree? No, I do not agree to that. What do you have to say? I have to say that while the Hebrew faith is one of the oldest ones, as far as religion is concerned, I don't think it's the oldest one currently in existence. One of the oldest ones, sure. Dexo says, I was confused for a moment. Turns out Judaism has Nazarites and Islam has Nizarites. Let's Google that real quickly. Islam Nizarites. Islam includes the Nizar Ismails, who form the largest branch of Ismaili Shia Islam, the second largest Shia community overall. How interesting. I did not know that. That's very cool. Hang on. I don't want to. Okay. Let us continue. You are a shekel pirate, says White King. Yes, yes, I am. Avast me, hearties. I'll plunder your booty. Why believers are so unhappy? You know what? It's a good question. Many believers, to put them in a crude single category, are very happy, better than happy. They're joyful and joyous. Happiness is fleeting. Happiness has a lot to do with satiation, right? And gratifying desires, be they for better or worse. And joy is something that's more, if not permanent, it's in a different place. Joy has that quality of stillness, sometimes coming, and peaking. But joy, many times anyway, has that quiet stillness in an individual, or it has the capacity to bestow that in the individual. Why are you such a blood-sucking leech? Because I love blood. It goes with so many dishes. You could have it raw. You could, with stir fry. It's one of the best things to have fresh, which is why I'm a blood sucker. If I have it, like preserved stuff in a tin, I don't go for that. In the army, sure, you had to settle for blood in a little tin. In the combat packs, the manot krav you had to eat. We're the bomb and the pianist. Yes, people have told me that. I only saw that movie once. I should see it again. But wow, I remember being affected by it, and it was quite a piece of cinema. Blood sausages, I'll eat that. Hey, Async is here. Haven't seen you in a while, at least not your name. So hi, hello, how you doing? How are you? You are likable. Yes, I have my moments. Do people still pray at the Gate of Mercy in Jerusalem? Um, no, the Gate of Mercy is now in the midst of a Muslim uh, cemetery. The Gate of Mercy is currently sealed, if I'm not mistaken. There's a short that I did at the behest of BMXers with dreadlocks. I had some time. I finished work early and I went to the old city on a whim a long time ago. But look it up on the channel if you want. The name Yod Hey Vav Hey and the Gate of Mercy. I didn't see Jews there or Muslims praying, but I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been there. I'm sure people still do. Large groups of people, not that I know of and not that I've seen. Hey, Smoochie's in the house. I was listening to music on YouTube and they censored a word, so I left and ended up here. So, what song was it? You don't have to say what they censored if you don't want, but now, what was the catalyst for you swiping? Is it, oh man, I can't believe it. I was all in the zone ready to hear that word and then beep? Was it a bleep? Was it a boink? Was it a, what was it? The actual, or was it just a blank space? Are you a Zionist supporter? Yes, but I don't support everything that's done in the name of Zionism. I think certain things are pretty sickening. But other than that, yes, I am a biblical Zionist and a modern day Zionist. But I don't excuse what everybody or everyone does in the name of Zionism. Why do you think your people have been despised by everyone everywhere forever? It's a good question, JD. I've been asked all the time, and I will say, ask the ones who are doing the despising. I think that's a better question in the sense of because I don't know how to address this one. I will say what I've said many times before that I consider Jew hatred to be something that's a shape shifting thing that seemingly has always existed. And honestly, looking at history, civilization, contributions, I don't quite understand, practically speaking, why the Jews would be despised so much. There's got to be something beyond that. And that is where the more, let's say, metaphysical things come into place, where Jews are credited, for lack of a better term, with bringing the Ten Commandments and the Bible as such into the world. Christianity is built on the Old Testament, that's old according to them, and Islam agrees that Isa, Jesus, was a prophet, and so on, meaning that there's a root in the Jew that is to do with the origin of some degree of religious morality in the world. I won't say morality as such. Religious morality insofar as the Abrahamic faiths are concerned, which make up billions of this planet. So, when you veer off that path and you go to Christianity, and when you veer further, let's say further, not in a negative way, but off that path and start your own with Islam. And I say this as a Hebrew who does not know anything about Christianity and Islam, only that they have that shared root in Judaism, in the Hebrew faith, we being the right Umar Katab, the people of the book. As the people of the book and them going and saying that book is no longer valid, get with it, and taking into account the fact that Islam and Christianity each, if I'm not mistaken, want everyone to rally under their banner, whereas the Hebrew faith doesn't require that. And we don't think everybody needs to be Jewish. We don't think anybody needs to convert. Many people discourage conversion at first. Why are they despised? People have called Jews, perhaps condescendingly so, the conscience of the world because of our root in the Ten Commandments, the Hebrew Bible, and the religious morality that I specified or generalized. And they are seen as this thing that needs to pass from the world in order for the world to get on with it and move towards a newer covenant, a new heavens, a new earth, as is prophesied. And the Jews, these freaking Jews, are in the way. They are in the way. They're everywhere. They won't die. Right? The reason why it's a shape-shifting thing, Jew hatred, is because indeed Jews are in higher and very lower positions. They are the rich and they are the poor, right? They integrate and they don't integrate. They live in ghettos or they're, assimilated completely. People will find all sorts of reasons, too rich, too poor. People will find all kinds of reasons to hate Jews. There will always be an idea among billions of pointing that finger towards the Jews. And the UN The UN, with in the last decade or so, like a completely ridiculously disproportionate of resolutions against Israel or having to do with Israel as compared to all other 200 something plus nations in the world, members and non-members that are in the UN. It's off the charts. It's not off the charts, but it's ridiculous. Point I'm trying to make is that why have the Jews been despised? We're shifty, we're different. Consider the scroll of Esther. What does Haman tell Xerxes or Achashverosh? What does he tell him? I think that's Xerxes. He tells him, there is a people, and they're not even sticking together in your kingdom. It's not like the other nations that's sort of sectioned out, like hair before it starts to dread. No, 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 no. They're just all over the place. They don't keep the king's commandments. They're not doing your decrees. You don't need these. You don't need these guys. Let me. I'll take care of them. It's all good. You leave it to me. It's nothing personal. Strictly business. That's why Haman hated the Jews, because when Mordechai did not bow down to him, he was not subservient, which he should have been by decree of the king. He was going against the king's decree. Haman was like, oh, I'll do what's proper. I'll do what's right. He just can't do that. He's insulting the king by not keeping the king's command. But there was something beyond that. That idea of Amalek, of Haman being Amalek. Now, Amalek, we don't know who they are nowadays. I'm not a pro-genocide individual. Jews are despised for any reason and every reason under the sun. Should it be laid at the feet of the Jews? Perhaps, but if so, how? Because really, we are everywhere doing all kinds of stuff. I don't think there's a Jewish cabal that's looking to take over the world. I think there are Jews in positions of power and influence and of revolution and so on. There's different ends of the spectrum and in the middle. But we are overrepresented, they say, in so many key things: control, power, banking, so many things. We are also overrepresented with Nobel Prize, in actual sciences by a large margin compared to the population's number. This is not a question of Jewish supremacy. It's not a question of Jewish domination. It's not a question of being holier than thou, nobler than thou. It's not a pissing contest here. People, why are Jews despised? Jews, don't give me State of Israel. Give me that hardcore anti-Jew rhetoric in the chat. Blah, 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 says Slavic. Yes, indeed, I can blah, blah, blah with the blessed of them. You better believe it. Can you talk about the problem with not questioning one's dogma? I can talk about it in the sense of the house that I grew up in, right? And in halacha, where you're not encouraged to go against halacha, but you are encouraged to investigate. You are encouraged to ask questions. Is your rabbi or melamed or is your educator going to give you answers that suffice? Maybe, maybe not. My elder brother, when he entered a very religious high school, he started asking questions. He did not like their answers one bit. He says, "Who needs this crap?" I mean, I'm paraphrasing. Right? He took off his yarmulke, became secular. Goodbye. This is just hell no. Not with the answers you gave me. That doesn't suffice. So, dogma. Now, Christians, I'm sure, you know what? Let's look at the actual technical definition. I know what it means for me, right? The dogmatic view of halacha, for instance, but I want to get the precise dictionary definition. Dogma is a core principle, says Google, a set of religious beliefs. Okay. So, principles and right, halacha for all intents and purposes in the Orthodox faith, rabbinic law. The problem with not questioning one's dogma is simply this. If you're just more simple, and I mean that in the best possible way, living your life, doing what the rabbi tells you to do, believing in God, reading some psalms, working for a living, trying to get by, and grab little moments of pleasure, little holidays, little mitzvahs on the daily, and you're fine with that, you're content with that, this is your life, you are fine, and even more than that, you feel part of a greater thing. And you're a very simple religious Jew doing what it says in halacha, and you never really question, that's fine. If you are called to question, if you have that curious, inquisitive mind, if you are curious about knowing the root of things insofar as you can understand them or come to the root of anything, There's a whole world out there of Jewish texts, of Hebrew words and translations and original things in other languages that are there to tell you this is life, the way that I see it in relation to Torah. Here is the wisdom that can be gleaned. Does it shine before you? Does it call to you? Are you more curious? For instance, one of my brothers, we got into a few hours of a discussion on a Friday night on Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, Leil Shabbat, and we were talking, and he's like, you know what? Unlike you, he said, I never felt the need to understand the intricacies of the mitzvahs. I never felt the need to pull the curtain back. I simply believe these are our traditions. This is what I was given by the folks. This is the Jewish life, and I don't busy myself with the spiritual realm, right? With the spiritual worlds. So to each his own. Questioning one's dogma, while it can lead you to a place of, let's say, heresy, rebellion, and there is that danger insofar of you veering off the path, sometimes you're supposed to veer off the path. The Zen koan is, when you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. When you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him, because there's a time when you're doing your own thing and you don't need a master. There are times when you need to be under a master and under a discipline and under a yoke and a burden, and to some degree that's for life. And in some ways, you need to know what to shed when in order to, you need to push some boundaries. And some people who keep halacha, strict halacha, as I once did, would not abide with me currently now, a picker and chooser of halacha, a cafeteria faith individual. So I questioned my own dogma. I kept it very strictly for years. But when it did not align with the values and views that I was espousing in my mid-20s and towards my late 20s, and I took my vow at age 27, so yeah, mid-20s. When things were not aligning and I had to ask myself why, and am I simply shirking my responsibility and unburdening myself of the yoke of Torah and commandments by questioning? Am I looking for a way out? Am I looking for the out? I came to the conclusion after several years that no. The problem with not questioning one's dogma when you are called to question it, and when it's something that simply you've been conditioned not to do it, it's religious guilt, you think it might lead you down a wrong path. There are so many reasons not to question, but there's one major reason to question, and that's because you want to be able to perform the things from a place of awe, of that thing that comprehends and does not comprehend at the same time. Because nothing else will suffice. You can't live that smaller life of just doing, no, you are called to question, not for the sake of rebelling and finding an out and getting a hater, right? And finding that things are permissible. But truly to understand what it is that you are doing and why, and to what end. How can it be made better? What is it that's making it worse? Where do I fit in, right, as an idiosyncratic individual in this spectrum of halacha, this spectrum of dogma? I find nowadays things that I'm more strict about and things that I'm more liberal and lenient about. And the mistakes that I'm making are my own. And that's the big thing. See, I may be making a big mistake veering off the orthodox path that I grew up in. I may have been way off questioning my dogma and saying, nope, something is not aligning right now. That's also why I do not rule out going back to keeping strict rabbinic law in the future. I still consider orthodoxy to be a blessed path and my home and my root. Certain things going on I could not abide, and it was also getting into the dogmatic things. Now, I don't know if I'm an example. The Nazarite vow is something that is not commonly done. I set a lot of store by my Nazarite vow, for better or worse. And my father, when I stopped putting on tefillin, my father told me, aren't you putting too much stock in your hair? Aren't you betting too much on this horse? And I said, yes, precisely, I am. This is something that I am going all in on. This is for life. This is until the grave. Of course I'm putting a lot into it. Of course I'm literally laying my life against this. Yes. That's dogma, right? Dogma is Jews put on tefillin. And I put on tefillin for the first 7 years of my vow. I still put on tefillin every day. Or nearly every day, not 100%, whatever, 90-something percent, definitely. Not accounting times like Shabbos, Yom. What I'm saying is that I was called to let go of the tefillin, to let go of the leather and the parchment and the dead animal and embrace further the head of the Nazarite ship and the crown of the Nazarite ship. Not that I am wearing it, far be it from me to wear it, but I'm on the way to it. It's an ideal that's always moving away, that crown of consecration. I still have a lot of work to do. I'm only at the beginning. The dogma that I questioned is a dogma my father would never question. Never. This is what Jews do. And I know that there's a part of him that's really disappointed, I'm sure. Though he says, my kids, more religious, less religious, you're all good people. That's what my parents say. Of course, they're my parents. They'll say that about their kinderen, their kinderlach, the children, the yeladim. So dogma, look, what did Picasso say? Know the rules like a professional so you can break them like an artist. It's something like that. It's yes, go the distance, put on the path, go all in, live that halachic life, live that rabbinic, but know when to veer off. Now, some people told me in the past, the people who veered off, their kids did not grow up. Eventually, they just were cut off from the Jewish path. And you should not be so quick. They didn't say quick, but you should not, because I didn't do it quickly. You should not let go of that tradition of the Orthodox Jewish faith. You should carry the baton and pass it on to the next generation. And I'm saying that we are now in Eretz Yisrael. It's a different dogma. It's a different dogma in Eretz Yisrael. My parents being from the diaspora, growing up there and then making the move, bless them for making that move, raising me in Jerusalem. What a blessing. What an unbelievable gift they gave me. Paying for my yeshiva years in Tzfat, another gift. So dogma, despite my parents' adherence to certain dogmatic principles, they understand after many years, that I suppose, that, I'm not going to be the religious guy. I'm not calling myself religious. I'm no longer religious. I'm very comfortable, let's say, with going back to doing that. I lived it for years. It wouldn't be an issue if I was called to it again to readapt and readopt. The problem with not questioning one's dogma is that if you are called to question it, it can leave you bitter, resentful, empty, fake, feeling like an imposter, your outside not reflecting your inside. And that's a dual life. We already are living in a world of duality. We already are living in such a messed up place. And to mess yourself up inside, you already have your own hangups and your own screw-ups, just as an individual with your own limitations. To add onto that, the abandoning of the spiritual quest, because maybe it will lead you down the wrong path. Is that a sacrifice you're willing to make? Waking up, in your 40s or 50s or 60s and saying, what am I doing? I've lived all of these years doing what I'm doing on the outside and feeling nothing on the inside or not satisfied on the inside. Now, this is not to say that you should always be satiated. Discomfort is something that's okay. There are many things that I will not know. Just making progress, right? Trying to be a little bit less of a dumbass every day. Good luck. Let's continue in the chat. No, let's take a swig of coffee. People, I can't tell you what a pleasure this is, how lovely this is for me right now. 39 minutes in, 84 people, 39 likes. Oh, there was a super chat. I'm sorry I missed it. I'll address it right now. I hope you're still here, whoever super chatted the super chat. Oh, it wasn't a super chat. It was just money that came in. Thank you. I deeply appreciate it. All of the money that you good people give goes to charity after YouTube takes its cut. Everything that ends up in this bank account, this dumbass's bank account, ends up in charity here in Jerusalem that serves East and West Jerusalem alike. Jews, Arab, Rasta, Shinto, Hindu, black skin, pale skin, blue skin, white skin. Swig of coffee, says Justin. Hey, Justin Skate, good to see you again. Red says, whatever, zombie. It's a fight all in your head. What a sad thing. I am a zombie, looking for brains. It's a fight all in your head. To a great degree, you're exactly right. It's the fight against oneself, but it's not a fight as I see it. I see it as Like the Tao Te Ching says, right? Good and bad, they're not opposites, they're milling stones. They are working hopefully together, the push and pull, the tension between it all. They can extrapolate into the tension between the physical and the spiritual, the element of earth and the element of air. But it's not a sad thing. It's a sad thing if you don't actually go for it. And now I mentioned the word satisfy your curiosity, but that's not right because satiation can have bad sides too. So it's not always about being satisfied. I say it's about being content without being complacent. Again, that push and pull, that tension. But many people would say that the way that I lead my life is a very sad thing. The live streams that I do are a very sad, pathetic, like really thing. And those people, to them I say, awesome, swipe away. This channel is not for you. It's that easy to go boop or fleek, and that's it. Now you'll probably, as you're swiping along, encounter my ugly mug again. Nothing I can do about that. That is that's the YouTube algorithm gods. Hey, Nick Morris is here. Rabbi, I am not a rabbi, not even a little, not a rabbi, not a teacher, not a preacher, not an educated man, not an academic, not a researcher, just one simple dumbass in the Middle East with a cup of coffee and a phone. Can I harsh you a question? Should we just annex Area C and Judah and Samaria, or should we just continue building settlements in the occupied territories? So, I don't know enough about what goes on there day to day. The legal things should remain legal, unless there's some sort of a transfer thing. The illegal things should probably stop, despite them being an advantage tactically, security-wise. I don't know, but I think that if it's illegal, that's problematic. As is doing it illegally and then passing the law to make it legal. I just don't see that from a very layman's view, right? As something that's good. As for annexing, no, I don't think we should annex. We should de-radicalize both sides, the Palestinian territories that are disputed or whatnot. I think that when leadership changes and when a de-radicalization occurs, from there can come justice, and from there can come peace, and from there can come love, or any mixture thereof. It doesn't have to be linear like that. As for occupied territories, some probably are indeed occupied, but most of it I don't see as occupied because you cannot be an occupier in your own ancestral home. So, if anything, it's disputed, not occupied. Israel is not an occupying force. This is our ancestral home. We're fighting a defensive war against terrorists. It has always been our ancestral home for over 3 millennia. You are clearly a Levite, but rebellious. Thank you. I take that as a compliment. I thank you very much, SR. Good to see you again. T-Bird says, it brings great joy to spend time with a person who views the mysteries of the nature versus the world in a similar way. It's like finding another lost traveler. We still feel our way, but not alone. Yes, not all those who wander are lost, it says in Lord of the Rings, and it's true. If what's guiding you, right? What does the book of Proverbs say? Right? In all your ways know him, and he will make straight your path. Strive to know the divine revelation. Strive to emulate the divine revelation. Strive to go simply, humbly, and things will straighten out. This does not mean you lead a perfect life by your definition of perfection. It doesn't mean that you arrive at some sort of a place where you can rest. There is no rest for the weary. There is no rest for the righteous. There is no rest. And if you do find those times of rest, relaxation, grab them, embrace them, understand how fickle and fragile everything is and how dynamic, how flexible everything is. And that, I could drop dead in 5 seconds from some sort of something that I didn't know was happening in my brain. Boom. But I'm here now, still drawing breath, still with you over here. And that finding our way, but not alone. Yes, and more Nazarites, specifically pertaining to the Nazarite, which can be a lonely path. There are a few Nazarites, and more are being called towards the Nazariteship here in Jerusalem. Maybe in all of Israel, maybe in all the world. Someone told me, I don't remember who it was, that what he would love to see is a critical mass of Nazarites at the in the old city, or at the Kotel, I think he said at the Western Wall, or something like that, or in Jerusalem. I don't remember, but that idea of a critical mass of Nazarites. Not everybody is called to this path, nor should everybody be a Nazarite, but for those who are called, they should definitely, I think, take their time and answer that call. Okay. Where is your little brainwash black box thingy you guys put on the top of the head? The tefillin shel Rosh, John Doe. I do not wear phylacteries. I do not wear tefillin. I wore them for about 20 years, over 20 years, just about 20 years. And then I was called to not wear the leather straps with the parchment any longer. That is known as the lower crown, and the crown of the Nazarite is known as the higher crown, organic, right? As opposed to leather straps of a dead animal and parchment of a dead animal. It's the living organism and the crown that grows from inside out and from the topmost place all the way down to its lowest. That's the crown of the Nazarite. And the little black box is something I was called to not do. And later on, when I spoke to the Nazarite rabbi Yehoshua Friedman here in the Old City, in Jerusalem, and he told me, yes, some Nazarites don't wear tefillin, and some Nazarites wear tefillin all day. Of course, there probably are some who put it on only in the morning, as is usual Orthodox tradition or current practice, if not tradition. The tefillin is meant to be worn all day. So I don't do the cube thing. I've been told it has to do with Saturn and devil worship or pagan worship, or it has nothing to do with it. And even if it did in the past, back in the Canaanite pantheon or the older things, right, when the people of Israel were still worshiping pagan gods or false worship of the Hebrew God, when people were still doing that, and that the inclination to worship pagan gods and false deities, false for the Hebrews, not for others, that's been gone for nearly 2,000 years. But there are, I'm sure, individuals who still engage in pagan worship and in worshiping false deities or worshiping the Hebrew God in foreign ways. The little black box is associated with many things that don't have to do with the Torah. So even if you say that the origin is in the paganism, I would say, okay, same thing as the name Elion, right? Or the name El, or Yod He Vav He, which has its origins as a name, as a force, as a kind of symbolization of a unique divine revelation in the Canaanite pantheon. So the Israelites, the tribes of Israel, borrowed some things from the Canaanite tribes, but they made them Hebrew, right? In the same way that these names do not pertain now to individual deities, but to facets and revelations of the one Hebrew God. In the very same way, the black box may have its origin in worship of false deities. The tefillin could have something that is more, right, that is more ancient. But the way the Hebrews wear it is the crown of separation of the Hebrew man or woman. Women can also wear tefillin if they wish. There are those who wear tefillin Rashi. There are those who wear Rabbeinu Tam. There are those who wear both tefillins. There are those who wear Shimush Rabbah for mincha, for the afternoon prayers, the larger box. And it has to do with the Kabbalistic relationships between the divine revelations in the tree of life that are coming into effect and are being unified through the human Jew, the Hebrew, wearing this leather crown. Right, let's continue. He just rambles. Yes, I am Pepe. Slav Pepe. Yes, I can ramble with the best of them. What up, my Rasta Jew? Hey, Jackson Moon, how you doing, my man? It's good to see your name in the chat. I hope you're having a good day. Jesus wore tefillin. Yes, Tenebris, it makes sense that he does. Bro doesn't even know the cup. What do you mean? Like a testicle cup? Have I ever worn a jockstrap? No, I don't think I have. Shave your beard. I don't think so. Can you provide good cause of why I should shave my beard? Do let me know in the comments. Continue. Accept Jesus before it's too late, says Beat. Oh, I accept that he is a dead man. A righteous dead man, but a dead man no more, no less. Ever notice the Kaaba looked? Yes, of course I have, Josh. Of course. I've noticed that the Kaaba looks like the tefillin. Very cool answer, bruh, says John Doe. Now tell us how many Palestinian babies did you eat this week? What, Wednesday? Like, fully? I'm not sure, but like 3? Something like 3. This Def is a guy from that viral video that be taking whole monster cans inside him. Hilly Mitch, I've never drank a monster. I've never drank one. I've never drank an energy drink other than one time where I was like, years ago, after years that it's been around, and I go, you know what? I want to know what this tastes like. That's it. I tasted it once. Never had an energy drink in my life. So Red Indian have right to USA. It's their ancestors' land. Well, let's put it this way. If the USA decides to give it back, it would be exactly the same. Not exactly the same. No, that's taking it way too far. No, the situation is not the same at all. It's not the same at all. If you're talking about the fact that there were people living here that were not Jews for these thousands of years as well. Well, let's put it this way. Why then did the US give the Native Americans their reserves? Their reservations, I mean. Reservations. Why didn't they just kill them all? Okay? They gave them land. So, should Australia go back to the Aboriginals? Should Canada go back to those First Nation folk? If I'm saying that correctly? Should the US go back to the should Mexico go back? Should Texas go back to Mexico? Should other ones that were purchased from France or whatnot be given back to them? Jews conquered this land, not Jews, Hebrews. The Hebrew army conquered this land from the 7 nations, and it has forever been here since. Thousands of years. Other people were here as well. I wish to live alongside them in peace and prosperity. That is what I have to say. As for the US and the Native Americans, I don't know. I don't think it's the same thing at all. How are you, Clue, you crazy man, says Slavic. Yes, I am a little bit crazy. What did Seal say, people? Say it with me. No, we're never going to survive. I guess we a little crazy. Yes, we're never going to survive unless we get a little crazy. So, let's get crazy. You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. Have you read A Short Stay in Hell? No, I haven't, Cheese Roller. Love the name, by the way. I don't partake of cheese, but seeing those big wheels of cheese is just... Someone not making slop, says Gavin. No, not making slop. No, not really. Live, raw from Jerusalem, coming at you. Let us continue. Hey, Kieran is here. Hey, my friend from Israel. Shalom, shalom, boker tov. Hope you're well. I'm doing chores this morning and then going out hill walking this afternoon. Easy life. Stay safe. Eze kef. Toda leya. That's lovely. Doing chores and then going on a hike or a walk. That's really great. Good for you. Commendable. Something physical, something mental, and physical. You are a closed-minded idiot, sir. Yes, in certain things I am closed-minded. I do consider myself somewhat open-minded on other things. As for being an idiot, you're darn tootin' right I'm an idiot. I mean, I've got literally, probably, I've never been tested. I'm thinking my IQ is lower average. So maybe not idiot technically, but damn close. Just this side of idiot. Okay. Beware the Kabbalah, it's dark magic. No, there are people who took the Kabbalah, twisted it, and deformed it or whatnot, and it's not kosher Hebrew Kabbalah. Others can partake of it. I'm not gatekeeping. I'm saying that it was off the path of the kosher Torah Kabbalah. And that's not dark magic whatsoever, though there are Kabbalistic things that were warped and twisted, and you could call those dark magic, I suppose. Your ancestors came from Morocco? No, my ancestors came from Judea. They were kicked out to Europe, made the voyage to the US, and back to Judea. That was the route for the last 2,000 years. How far back does your knowledge go, says Knowledge William. First of all, it's not my knowledge. I am a dumbass. I'm standing on the shoulders of knowledgeable giants. So how far back? As far back as you want it to go, I suppose. I don't know many things. There's more of what I don't know than what I do know, and I'm highly ignorant in most things in life. So if you ask me how far back does your knowledge go, I don't know the meaning of the question. It goes back to before there was knowledge. You are not Semite, hence DNA test banned in Israel. False, Juan. It's regulated, but it's not banned. So stop spreading misinformation, you disingenuous Juan. Son of David says, I can tell, you are a man that knows my father because of all the hate in the comments. I had a guy attack me and his strength was reduced to that of an 8-year-old, said Papa. Bring it, lover of self. Thank you, Son of David. I really appreciate that. And may I merit those words in fullness. May I indeed. And I thank you. It's okay to be literal, says Toast on Xbox. Yeah, I suppose it depends. What is it that you are aiming towards? What is it that is guiding you? What is that lens through which you view the Torah and life or the Bible, that you take things literally? Because you always pick and choose. There is always a hierarchy of values that is informing your decisions on the literal meaning of things. And it will always be something, even in the oral Torah, right? When it's speaking, for instance, of the ben sorer umoreh, the wayward son, the disobedient wayward son, that his parents are supposed to have him killed. And it's said that had actually never occurred. There is this opinion in the Talmud or the Mishnah, I think it's the Talmud, that says that right, the commandment for the wayward son to be put to death was never actually carried out. It is only because there's wisdom there to be gleaned, and there are esoteric and spiritual understandings there to relate to. And that's why that's in the Torah, because of the higher Torah, the more spiritual Torah, the Torah that is all names of the Holy One, blessed be He, as the Zohar says. So in that sense, if it wasn't carried out in reality, you would say, well, why is it there? It's there because there are certain things that you carry out in order to facilitate that connection in practicality in the world, like ritual worship, which is very hands-on and full of blood. And other connections need to be made in the mind. Things like the connections that are made by studying the lore and the commandments and the halachas of the wayward son, even if it never comes to pass. Understanding those connections, understanding the laws and the regulations helps you to gain that freedom from within the structure. Super chat came in. Let's address that. Smoochie gives $5. Thank you. I'll remind you, it's all going to charity here in Jerusalem after it ends up in my bank account. And I thank you for your generous contributions of hard-earned money. Jesus warned us about the Kabbalah. We know it's dark magic. Okay, feel free to think that Kabbalah is dark magic. There are a couple of Kabbalists who are Mekubalim Ma'asiyim, and more than a couple, right, who are practical Kabbalists, who use names and invoke certain revelations, let's say, and do the yichudim, right, to bring about the unity of the masculine and the feminine presence in the mind, who do the meditation with the breathing, the turning, the thinking, the uttering, the oh. I am not a Kabbalist, and I am not a practical Kabbalist. I don't think I will ever be a person who engages in Kabbalah Ma'asit. Can I go ahead and borrow $20? Bum says, well, if you are a charitable organization here in Jerusalem, reach out to me in the DMs or the comments, and I could contribute some of that money towards you whenever it comes in. But because I want to be as transparent as I can about it, and I do post my analytics and the AdSense caption and my bank account caption sometimes, and the receipts from these charitable organizations, I want to do it that way. Kabbalah is scary, says Derek. You could say that. I don't agree with you. I think that in my experience, Kabbalah has been not scary, but a wellspring of knowledge, information that can help you integrate. And so even though it seems maybe daunting and scary in that sense of awe, it also brings with it a calmer understanding, because you know, in spite of the responsibility that's on your shoulders, you know that you are now on that path of realizing that unity in earnest. And focusing your mind and the mental effort and the energy, and understanding that the physical and the spiritual have the different ways of being approached, doing it in such a way that will bring about the best sort of unity. I think that's part of what the Kabbalah teaches you. It's part of know thyself, right? When you're learning about the Kabbalah, you're learning about the relationships between the Sfirot and the tree of life. And that exists within you as an image of God. So if you think Kabbalah is scary, I'll say, okay, it can be definitely scary. What is the lens through which you are approaching it? Who are you studying with? I say always, kosher Kabbalah with a kosher master. That's the way to start. Even if you don't end up that way. It's definitely the way to start. Kosher Kabbalah from a kosher master. And then it's not scary, I think. I don't think it's scary. I think it's revelatory to the greatest degree. Oh, hang on a second. Oh. Kabbalah, I think people keep referring to are the tree of death, the shadow side of the tree of life, says Rabbi, right? The klipa, the sfirot, the asara kitrin de mesa'avuta, the 10 crowns of unholiness, says the Zohar. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. You think that the other types of non-kosher Kabbalah come from the side of the klipa? Could be. Maybe that's what Kabbalists would say. I don't know. Do you believe in ghosts? Yes, I do believe that there is the possibility of someone, let's say, in a world between worlds. Because if we right now can be in that time between Friday afternoon, the Edenic 6th day, the afternoon, and before Shabbos comes in with sundown, we are now stuck in that world between worlds, in a physical world of duality, between Edens, the one we took for granted and the one we will merit. We are now in between, working on meriting that Eden on partaking of the fruit of the tree of life. In that sense, we are in a world between worlds. And if that can happen physically with me here in a physical body, there can also be the other way around. Not a body with a soul, but a soul, let's say, without a body, or a type of revelation. Now there is the angelic form, the demonic form, and the form of right, ruach, or that's spirit, ruach. So I do believe in ghosts, though I dare say I've never seen one. But I do believe that such a thing exists in potential. Do you know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses? If you do, what do you think? I don't know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses. I've known other Christians who'd say that they are a cult. I know that people that have escaped that church or that cult tell all kinds of tales. But no, I don't know anything about them because I've never looked into them. I know that they are a branch of Christianity. Yes. Disembodied spirits are not ghosts, but rather more likely demonic entities. So right, there's Shedim and Ruchin and Lilim. There are 3 classic traditional subcategories, right? There's Shedim, demons, Ruchin, spirits, and Lilim, which are sons of Lilith for all intents and purposes. Do you like seals? Useless says. Well, if you're talking about like a ring, like a signet, like a seal, I'm fond of those, though I don't think I've ever really used one in adult life. If you mean seals as the animal, then yes, I do. I was just telling my woman the other day, there is this, is it a sea lion? A sea something, one of those big creatures with tons of blubber, and they fart like the most foul smelling, gaseous excretions from the anus that you've ever, I haven't witnessed it, but I've seen a documentary. There was one documentary, maybe it was Our Planet, or one of those ones that are on Netflix, and I went with, I think it was David Attenborough, but maybe not. And they just filmed this great big heap of sea lions or sea dogs or one of those sea somethings with the huge mustaches, not a walrus, but close, something. And they were just, and you could see their tail like flying in the air from the force of the expulsion. It's something. You could really like almost smell and taste it through the screen. Ooh, stinky, exactly so. So good to see you again, Madman. What is it like to believe in a higher being? Is it a sense of presence or someone to talk to when times are tough? So I don't know God, right? All I know is how God reveals himself to me. To believe in a higher being, it's not a question of a being because that also denotes non-being. And that's a duality. And so I know that God is not a being. As for belief, what is it like? It's unbelievable. Ironically enough, to believe is unbelievable. When I was I 19? I think I was 19 in my yeshiva years. And at some point I was going for a walk, do seclusion in nature for a couple hours. And during that one, I was just, you know what? I'm done. I don't need any more evidence. I don't need any more proof. I don't need any more signs. I won't require those for as long as I draw breath. Now it's you and me, right? Creator, creation, all in. Let's go. In that sense of presence, the divine revelation is always present. Whether it's the mitzvahs that we carry out day to day that remind us and keep us grounded and focused and unifying, whether it's the weekly, monthly, annual reminders in the form of Shabbos, new moons, holidays, whether it's the fact that prayer is a thing, like you said, to talk to when times get tough, that too. You turn to Adonai when you're the happiest and the most joyful. You turn to Adonai when you're at on the ropes and at your lowest. It runs the entire gamut of being. Well, to do it specifically because I don't go to synagogue. I don't daven from a prayer book. I don't pray from a prayer book, or usually I don't. My prayers are the hitbodedut, always the spontaneous prayer, the spontaneous dialogue between I and the Most High. I haven't gone to synagogue regularly in years, nor do I take my children to synagogue, but I teach them to continually talk to God. The sense of presence is in you bringing about yourself in the image of God that you are uniquely created in. That is what the Torah and the commandments facilitate. So when you speak of presence, it's not like something is with you. It's you with your dealings and doings, hopefully, are making manifest the divine revelations as they are coming through you. In that sense, you are an empty vessel that never overflows and spills, but also is never empty. Because in that sense, yes, and there are times when, as Eric Clapton have said, right, the presence of the Lord, in the presence of the Lord. Useless says, wow, these are philosophical conversations. Yeah, my man, that's what this channel is for. I am not a philosopher, nor a theologist. I'm just a simple Hebrew dumbass in the Middle East. Grew up religious in Jerusalem, but I'm not an authority on anything, nor do I claim to be. And I enjoy thinking, and I enjoy talking, and I also enjoy doing, right? These philosophical conversations are not meant to stay in the ether of the intellect. They're supposed to come down here to the nasty, stanky, funky earth and reality that we live in, the element of earth in the physical. That's what the commandments are. The commandments are practical commandments. And yes, some do have a mental element to them, of course, like I said. But it's doing. The Torah is a Torah of doing. Okay. Let's go. A relationship is needed, said David. Yes, a relationship, which is always what I say, to people. How do you get closer to God? It's like, just keep the channels of communication open. Things will come of their own accord. Because when you speak out to God, God doesn't need your speech. You're speaking to yourself. You're speaking to that divine revelation in you and to the divine, unknowable, untouchable, right? Unthinkable, unrelatable. Said Elijah in the Zohar. No thought can perceive thee. Do you feel God's presence and tangible working in your life? I do, as do I, all the time. The divine revelation is something, that's if only through my Nazarite vow and through my covenant of circumcision, but the covenants are every day, right? There are daily covenants, there are weekly covenants, and so on. And so we are always being pushed and pulled between the different places, right? Like the change of seasons, it's a push and pull, but it's cyclic in nature. I can't believe Americans actually invited these people into America during WW2. They should have told them face the Nazis and fight for your freedom. Maybe they should have said that. Who knows how things would have ended? I do not know. Have you ever read the book Becoming Supernatural? No, I have not. I have not. Peggy says, comb your hair. Geez, no, a Nazarite is not allowed to comb or brush. Nazarites are allowed to use their hands and fingertips to separate and style and whatnot, but not use a comb or a brush or any other apparatus that is designed to separate hair from the scalp. Speaking of divine, but speaking ill to others. Lori, what have I said, or others in the chat if you have just arrived? Have I spoken ill of other people? I've been on for 70 minutes. Incidentally, thank you for being here. I deeply appreciate your companionship. And there are 80 people here, 63 likes, almost 20 shekel. that will go to charity. I don't know if this is before or after YouTube takes its cut, but whatever it is afterwards. So I'm deeply grateful. Thank you for being here, your time, your kind attention, your participation, and your engagement, right? It's not taken for granted. I have not spoken ill of others. People in the chat, have I been speaking ill of others? Please let me know. Does it ever feel like talking to children? No, it doesn't, Smoochie. I feel like I'm talking on the one hand into the void. On the other hand, I know that there are some people here. Maybe some of them are bots, as people claim. There are some people in the stream recently that are like, oh, he only answers the bots. Have you come across this? You never do. You've been kind. There you go. Okay. Never have I heard you be malice at any point. Yeah, Scott Anderson, I of course I have that tendency. I don't follow up on it whenever it does flare up. Now, do I sometimes act like that? Yes. Is it on the stream? No. And that's not hypocritical. It's simply different situations where different, parts of my personality come to pass and are present. So things in this world of digital and zeros and ones, it's not that I'm fake or just a persona here, but there are different things under different circumstances and different situations that that bubble up. He only answers to gold that was promised to him. Really, just a rhymes. Just a rhymes. Do you rhyme? I'm curious. There's so much negativity, says Smoochie. Yep, that is the internet. That is the interwebs. This is the lovely culture of digital, pixelated zeros and ones that we are a part of. I'm coming at you right now, live, raw, and unfiltered from Jerusalem through this wondrous device. And I put myself out there also to be criticized. And I am aware that people will criticize me on how I look and what I say and what I wear and, and my schnoz. Let's get a profile, shall we? Hopefully that was a profile. Let's see. Yes, it was. Oh, look at that. You can see it nice and broken. Okay. Gay Jew, says Lou. Yes, I am. I'm straight, I'm gay, I'm bi, I'm bisexual, and I'm a trans Jew individual, transhuman, trans Hebrew. I don't like trance music too well, but so pretty much over there, yeah. And I'm also a two-spirit phone cover. That's what I am. That's my level. Okay. You look fine and normal. Thank you, CTG. I'll bet you do too, and I mean that in the best possible way, because why be normal? He's married, says SR. Yes, I am. Yishai Levi, what are your thoughts about Lili and Liliot? You mean Lilin, as in Shirin Veruchin Belilin? What do you mean by Liliot? Anyway, my thoughts about Lilith is even though she has an origin, let's say, in the Kedusha, in the sacred realm, in the proper tree of life, that is where her origin is, as the higher feminine. However, nowadays, in a world of duality of good and evil, she is considered part of the klipa, part of the husk, part of the sitra achra, the mate of the samech mem, who is considered to be the main adversary corresponding to Tiferet, if I'm not mistaken, and she corresponds to Malchut, though I might be wrong. So, her as a demon and a succubus, a Hebrew succubus, my thoughts about her is that I don't want anything to do with her. I want, in time, to be able to approach her as the higher feminine and live my life in such a way that would be able to sanctify that part of her that still has hold in the spiritual holy, let's say, the holy sfirot. Something like that. But, I would not dare to delve in to the belly of that beast just because I think that I can work something there and pull some sparks of light, to speak of it Lurianically, out. No. I know myself a little bit after 43 years. I do not want to have anything to do with the klipot. I do because I live life and it's a physical life and I have my own faults and I'm a sinner and I'm fallen. I don't transgress. I don't do it to rebel. I don't do it to piss off the divine revelation. I do things because I'm weak and I'm human and I fall and I am not excusing myself. There's the burden of responsibility and it behooves me to be better. So I'm content but not complacent, as I said, which is why I don't want to mess with Lilith. I do not want to mess with Anacha, right? Venas Yagon ve'Anacha. Yagon is the Samech Mem, Anacha is Lilith. Yagon ve'Anacha are the klipot, and I do not mess with the klipot. I try not to at all. I try to do, work on the straight and narrow path when I can. Hopefully, some semblance of righteousness and humility and simplicity before God. And my dealings with the klipot I deal with. There will always be something. There will always be a challenge. There will always be an adversarial element in my life. We all have things we need to deal with. Now, the very great sages and tzaddikim, right, the righteous, they have they say, an evil inclination that is beyond all that is an actual holy angel. In that sense, Lilith and the Lilin, or Liliot, their origins are, of course, the root, the Gimel Rishonot, are all Rachamim. There is no evil there. There is no din there. There is no klipa there. There is no husk. There is no sitra achra. There's Bina that has the potential of judgment, but Bina, the great mother, is not judgment. She has that twofold reality. The point is that I don't want to mess with Lilith. I think that she has great potential. I'm not going to be the one to bring it about. Not here, not now, maybe later in life. And I know people say that we really, really, really need to rethink the idea of Lilith because she is the key to a great revelation in her origin as the divine feminine presence and being the first wife of Adam, Kabbalistically speaking. This has great significance, but I am still, I think, too fallen and too ignorant to be able to say, oh, of course, I can delve into that lore and see what's what and take the right. No. Stay away, says DG Saris. Stay away from what? From the klipot or from something else? Sando says, B'liya al behemot ba'al zvuv is Asmodus Ashmedai, Satanas, Lucifer. Yes, all of those, some of those are Hebrew. Some of those are Hebrew. Yes. ABZ, is it godly, in your opinion, to fleece the gym via usury? Does it not require a very certain level of dehumanization? Doesn't that make you a Karen? I don't know what you're talking about. Who is fleecing the gym through usury? And what dehumanization there occurs? And how does that have to do with being a Karen? If you're talking to somebody else in the chat, then continue having the conversation. If you were speaking to me, I don't know what you mean. Who is she exactly? Did she really do what the sages say she did? So you need to look at it metaphorically, first of all. You need to look at it not from a place of gashmiyut and of material, right? These are words we use and terms we use to convey a meaning and a wisdom that is to be gleaned. Now, is there a spiritual being known as Lilith? I think yes. Does she represent the dark side of the force in the feminine? Yes. Now, does she have her origins in the good side, as it were, and with the Jedi? Yes. Did the sages do what did she do? Did she really do? Practically speaking, literally, I can't say yes or no. I will say that when the sages actually said this, Mishnah, Gemara, Midrash, whatever it is, there's also a higher element of the Torah Shebe'al Peh. The Torah Shebe'al Peh represented by Malchut, right? Malchut Se'peh, Torah Shebe'al Peh Karinan La. That's what Elijah says in the Zohar. And that idea of did she really do it? Depends how you look at it. What is the lens through which you view it? Is it a literal lens? Is it an allegorical or archetypal lens? Maybe she did actually physically do these things because she had no physical body with which to do them. But they were the spiritual root of things that later come to be here in the physical world, coming down the line, down that vine. How ancient are golems? Is AI today ancient? Golem created from earth and fire. Well, that's a very good question. I didn't know that a golem is created from earth and fire. I thought it was created from earth, and then different names are written upon it in order to animate it. However, there could be different ways of constructing and animating a golem. So I have no idea. How ancient are they? As ancient, I suppose, as the Sefer Yetzirah is, if not before that. That knowledge, right, is first passed down, they say, in the book of the angel Raziel, Sefer Raziel HaMalach, that is said traditionally to have been given to Adam after the expulsion from Eden, when he was all bummed out, and the angel Raziel was revealed to him and said, here, I got you, take this book. You could say that the origins of Yetzirah are there in that way, or you could say that it's Sefer Yetzirah that is attributed to our patriarch Abraham or Rabbi Akiva ben Yosef at the time after the destruction of the Second Temple. That's how ancient they would be. Or if only one was ever constructed, and it's not a folklore and legend, and the Maharal of Prague a few hundred years ago actually constructed one and animated it, then it would be a few hundred years old in practice, but in knowledge or in potential, thousands of years old. As for AI today, I have no idea what it is. I don't know enough about artificial intelligence to tell you. I know that there's a very good chance that in the very same way that you code for AI, you put different letters on a golem in order to animate it. That is the one correspondence that I can see between them, this in the digital and this in the physical. SR says, many people reject the idea that Lilith was supposed to be Adam's first wife. Many people reject this. It's not in canonized scripture. That is correct. It is not in canonized scripture. Now, some people who do say the Zohar is canon say, oh, no, it definitely is. And if not the Zohar, then Sefer HaBahir and others, right, that are like seriously ancient. Please explain Purim. So Purim is not commanded in the Torah. Much like Chanukah, it has its origins in the scripture that is not Torah. Purim has its origins with the scroll of Esther that almost did not make it into the Bible. Esther insisted, the queen insisted that no, you don't understand. This needs to be in there. It's the covenant that's come about without any miracles, without any divine revelation, and yet the divine revelation totally baked right in. That's why it's called Esther, like Hester, which means to hide or hiding. Purim is when the 10,000, when there were, let's put it this way, after there was exile, Mordechai, right, he was one of the 10,000, him and Esther, Hadassah, were one of the 10,000 that went into exile with Yechonia by King Nebuchadnezzar of Babel before he burned the temple down. He exiled 10,000 people of Jerusalem and the king. And he put, was it Chizkiah instead of him? Point is, Yechonia, they end up in Shushan, in Persia, modern day Iran, right? And there is a villain there that wants to annihilate the Jews wherever they were exiled in the kingdom of Achashverosh. And Purim was basically the idea of the Jews repenting and atoning and returning to the covenant, this time without the smoke and fire and ram's horn of Sinai, this time without the physical revelation of a voice, this time without that thing that was so awesome that their souls literally leapt out, but then it had to... It happened seemingly all as a subtle political maneuver. The name of God is not mentioned in the scroll of Esther once. It is alluded to with the words the king, as opposed to the king of Achashverosh. It is alluded to how the divine revelation is working there and how the Sfirot are interplaying there to bring about that unity that eventually became the holiday of Purim. The holiday of Purim commemorates that time when the Jews reaccepted the covenant by choice, not like a revelation on Sinai, which was so awesome and incomprehensible that they had to say yes. When you are in front of all of that euphoria and love and elation, you're going to say yes to anything. When you see the divine revelation there on the mountain, burning, and a voice booming out, of course you'll say yes. It's like you're just what you're experiencing is beyond anything that's comprehensible, really. That's like a once-in-creation thing. And a once-in-creation person like Moses to go there and take down the tablets from the top of the mountain, that great bridge between worlds, our master Moses. Purim is that time when it happened without all of that, without all the smoke and mirrors. The name of God's not mentioned there. It happened seemingly of its own accord, which is like when Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching, he says, in a place where the Tao is kept, in the kingdom where the Tao is kept, people say it happened of its own accord. That's what happened in Purim, which is why Esther and Mordechai, they said, no, this has to be done, not just here. Everywhere, Jews all over the world, the remnant of the kingdom of Judah needs to solidify this, make it part of their calendar year after year after year, velo ya'avor, and it shall not pass. It's said that even when all the other holidays are past, Purim will remain. Because Purim has to do with the Radla. Purim has to do with that higher revelation that does not even know itself. Purim has to do with that higher revelation that cannot be known to us, which is why Purim has 3 commandments. You need to feast and drink. If you drink a little more than you're used to, some say get completely plastered. You need to read the scroll of Esther. People do it traditionally at night and in the morning. And you need to give alms to the poor and share the feast with them. 3 commandments on Purim. That idea of feasting and drinking, it's to get you to a place through the physicality that is ad de lo yada, which it also says chayav inishil besumei beforaya ad de lo yada ben hagur aman lebaruch Mordechai. A person needs to be intoxicated on the Purim to such a degree that he no longer can differentiate blessed is Mordechai from cursed is Haman. Why is it that you are supposed to come to that place on Purim where you cannot differentiate between good and evil? That higher place where there is no good and evil. It's because in the depths of exile, in the depths of the physicality, in the depths of the subtle, mucky political swamp, from there sprang a revelation for the Hebrew people that seemingly happened of its own accord, because they went the distance, they fasted, they repented, they atoned, they returned to the covenant. There's the mirroring of the words that were said at Sinai. Of we will do it and we will heed to it, or we will listen to it. It's not only performative, but there's a lot of performing here, and not in the negative sense. In the way of the covenant and the commandments and the Torah, atoning for sin and wrongdoing, fasting. This idea of always being in tshuva, in returning to the covenant and to the Torah. And that is the moment, and that's why Purim became a thing for generations, because that was the time when there was nothing dramatic about it. Nothing dramatic about it at all, seemingly. And yet always behind the scenes there, you see what's working. And when King Xerxes, Achashverosh, could not sleep, and it just so happens that they were reading to him about Mordechai saving his life, and it just so happens that Haman had walked in with the intent of telling the king to hang Mordechai, and it just so happens that Achashverosh told him, what would you do with somebody whom the king wants to be the benefactor of and to give him honor? And it just so happens that tree that Haman wanted Mordechai hung on, he himself was hung on it. In a twist of poetic justice, you could say. And that is this life. And that is Purim. Purim al Shem Hapur. Pur means a lot. Not a lot like a lot, like much, but a lot like the lottery. Because Achashverosh and Haman, right? Hipil Pur hu hagoral. Goral. The name Goral is mentioned, I think, once, maybe twice, in connection to the Holiday of Atonement. Goralot. The Holiday of Atonement and the ritual and the connection to Purim is great, because the Holiday of Atonement touches on the higher mother, the higher feminine divine revelation of Bina, and Tshuva, and Purim, and it's one of the Gimel Rishonot, one of the first 3, Keter Chochma Bina, that are the string that will not quickly come apart. The triple Hachut HaMeshulash, as it says in Ecclesiastes. Lo b'mehera yinatek. The connection between Purim and Yom HaKippurim is definitely there, aiming at that higher self. And you do it on the fast of atonement through fasting. And you do it through abstaining. And on Purim you indulge. On Purim you drink and you feast and you give to those that have not. And you read that scroll. You read that scroll to remind yourself of within the depths of exile, and within that time when a sword was hanging over them, they said, we are not despairing, we are repenting, we are returning to the ways of our fathers, we will fast, we will pray, and whatever destiny or goral is supposed to be wrought upon us or brought upon us, whatever the Creator decides to do, we are there alongside, so to speak, going with the traditions of our fathers and trying to be good people and do good things. And what Haman had planned for the Hebrew people, which was an actual genocide, it did not come to pass. And the Jews were able, on the day of Purim and the day later in Shushan, the capital, to stand. And for months, there were people telling him, oh, just you wait, when that date arrives, we're going to slaughter you all. in anticipation of the day. And then when the day actually came to pass, it was the Jews that had the upper hand, and things were reversed. That the Jews are the ones who had don't control over their haters and those who were anticipating to slaughter them all. And on the day, it reversed itself. They say in the Talmud, even if a sharp sword is on your throat, do not despair of the mercy. And by the mercy, it means the middle pillar, the Rachamim, that higher place that Purim and Yom Kippurim, the holiday of atonement, symbolize. So Purim is a great and amazing and awesome holiday where you can get even higher than on Yom Kippurim, so to speak, or a different emanation that's coming through to you. What is a Mormon? Says Joe St. A Mormon is somebody who are they the Church of Latter-day Saints? Is that in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Is that their full name? I think that's them. I might be mistaken. Let us continue. Let us continue. Scrolling down. Black Jesus, says Jackson Moon. What about him? I've heard of such a thing. I'm sure that there is. Upper hand moment, says Smoochie. Yeah, it was. How much money would it take for you to cut your hair short? I'm not allowed to cut my hair. I'm a Nazarite orthodox or orthodoxology or orthozology. So no money in the world. I will say no to any amount because this is a covenant for life. And I hope to go to my grave still under this vow. It's that simple. So you don't get drunk on Purim anymore? No, I don't. I mean, the Nazarite is allowed to partake of alcohol that is not derived of grapes, but I took on no alcohol at all. So I do not drink on Purim. I haven't had alcohol in 16 years. As far as I'm concerned, the best and the worst that I've experienced is already done, and I don't need the alcohol anymore. I just was able to say goodbye to it. I don't miss it. Not really. So no, I do not get drunk on Purim. I don't drink anything on Purim. If you're an Orthodox Jew, why do you use technology? First of all, many Orthodox Jews use technology. Second of all, I grew up Orthodox. I no longer define myself, categorize myself, Party Boy 960, as an Orthodox Jew. So I pick and choose, and I make no apology. I'm a cherry picker. I mean, Orthodoxy is a great path, but I no longer keep strict rabbinic law. A man cut not thy hair, don't even knock the edge off, says Son of David. No, I don't plan on it. Can you get stoned on Purim instead? Yes, you could, but I no longer partake of that, although I'm not ruling out taking a puff from a joint on Purim. A recurring statement we see in the Old Testament. Hey, Soler, good to see you again. Fear not, for Lord your God will fight for you. Why would God condone annihilation of its non-Jew creation? So this has to do not with God, because I don't know God. All I know is how God is revealed in the world to me. God is revealed in the world in a way of judgment as well, right? He is a merciful father, he's a benevolent king, and he's a harsh judge. There is that revelation of din kashe, right? The 2 days of the holiday of trumpets, the Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah, the Hebrew New Year, not the biblical one, but the modern day one, is 2 days, one of harsh judgment and one of lenient or soft judgment. Din kashe, din rafeh. There is that idea of din being the sphira in which this world was created, which is why Genesis starts with Elohim and not Adonai, and only later does the Yod He Vav He make an appearance. We are, they say, in a cycle of 7, in the second out of 7 cycles of 7,000 years. In the sphira of din, within Elohim, a very, very difficult sphira to be a part of if you're going in a cyclic jubilee-like journey among millennia. Some Kabbalists say that is what we are doing. So why would God condone annihilation? I would say that at the higher revelations, there is no such thing. And at the lower revelations, there is a revelation of judgment. And we live in this lower world corresponding to the final hay, corresponding to Malchut, kingdom, the divine feminine presence of the lower sort, and a world of knowledge of good and evil that we were cast out of Eden into. And in this world of good and evil, there is good and evil. It does not exist in the higher worlds. It exists here. That duality is here. And since that duality is here and part of the world that we live in, we need to contend with reality. And that means that when you ask, why would God condone It is not the higher revelation that is condoning this. It is a lower revelation that is given permission temporarily, let's say, to bring certain chaotic elements into creation for a reason unbeknownst to me, but that has its place in the grand scheme of things in the higher realm. And they say, Yerida letzorech aliyah, we descend in order to ascend. Right? Why do you go from a very high place on a roller coaster? Why do you gain that height? In order for momentum to come into the picture and to make you able to do that loop-de-loop. When there's enough G-forces in place, when there's enough pressure, you could do things you normally can't do physically. And by manipulating the G-forces, you're able to achieve that with a roller coaster. And by manipulating and putting pressure on the good through the evil in the world, you're able to let the good rise up against it and do things that are miraculous and wonderful, that are eventually aimed at having evil itself being taken out of the equation altogether. And right now it's manifested in good and evil. In the very same way that you secrete your excrement and give your urine, the same way that you have things inside of you that, were they to stay inside of you, would kill you, and you must let them out. There is a wickedness and an evil in the world that needs to be made manifest in reality. So to make it manifest and then flush it down with goodness, I say, to use that metaphor, it needs to make an appearance in the world. But it's on you to live such a life and lead your path in such a way, walk your path in such a way that you will do less harm and more good. Less harm and more good, less evil and more good. Be kinder, be more graceful, be more benevolent when you can afford to do it, to counteract all the wickedness and malevolence and evil in the world that is given some reign. I created good and bad, right? It says in Isaiah, that does good and created evil. Working with that wickedness and that evil, like milling stones, as the Tao Te Ching says, and I mentioned it earlier in this very stream. Hey, Reprobate is here. Rats are good at dodging questions. Well, I'll tell you, Reprobate, it's good to see you again, and this is the first time that I'm actually laying eyes on your username here in the chat. If you've said things previously, my mistake, mea culpa. It wasn't a mistake per se, but maybe you took it as me ignoring you. Please understand, I haven't even looked at any of your questions. Ironically, this is the one that I came across where you're saying he's ignoring questions. But there are 60-something people here in the chat. It's nice to see all of you. And I hope that it is of some value and of some entertainment for you. And I'm enjoying myself very much. And I'm not ignoring anybody. There are no bans. There are no mods. There are no timeouts. There's no filter or censorship beyond the very minimal one that YouTube requires. Are you committed to a kosher diet or put it aside? So I've always been kosher. Then I went vegetarian. Then I went vegan, which I suppose is the height of kashrut in many ways, technically, halachically speaking. So I am committed to a kosher vegan diet. But not kosher halachically in the sense of I will eat at a vegan place abroad that does not have a kosher certificate. So those who keep strict halacha would say, no, you must go to a place that has a kosher certificate signed by the local rabbinate, someone that you know, that you trust, or that the locals trust, and that you could, their oversight on kashrut here is something you can trust, and it's all kosher and all well and good. No. Hey, Philonetic is here. How you doing? People are such a disappointing species, says Bourne Joker. You know, I've never seen any of the Bourne movies. Who is it? Matt Damon? I've never seen any of them. I've been told they're good. How many are there now already? Where does the evil come from? So I've likened it many times, learning this from Pardes Rimonim, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. Evil comes, like I said, right, that you have, let's say, food that is 100% food, right? For instance, this cup of coffee that I drank. Ooh, another drop left. This cup of coffee was 100% coffee. When it goes from that higher place to the lower place, there it's pulled apart. Some things are given to the body that can be considered good, right? To sustain it and nourish it and strengthen it. And some things are pushed out, like urine and feces. And right, it's made into bile, the liver and the kidneys that are always filtering and making it into urine and so on. We have mechanisms in place to take the good and expel the bad. Evil comes from that place of discernment. Evil comes from that lower place where there is the things that are good and the things that are bad. Up here, when I was drinking it, it was all good. By the time it reached down to my stomach, there it was separated into good and evil. And you could ask the question, how can something that is 100% coffee become something that's good and something evil, something the body keeps and something the body expels? I drank 100% of it. What happened? You'd think the body would keep 100% of it. If I drank something that is water based and could sustain me, why not use everything? Because here in the lower realms, there is good and evil. Here in the lower realms, we are called marriage. We are called to discern between good and evil, to know good and evil in order to do good and abstain from evil, to merit Eden, to merit partaking of the fruit of the tree of life. So where does evil come from? It's a divine revelation that makes itself manifest in the world to begin with, in order for the good and the forces of the good to counteract it and pull more Edenic elements into this world of knowledge of good and evil that we were cast into, to elevate the world. Rav Kook says, "Kol ma she'ha'adam mitgadel, mitgadel ha'olam kulo imo." The more a person is exalted or made great, the more the world is made great right alongside him. Let us continue. Good and evil cannot exist without the other. Yes, that's right, Scott Anderson. Evil is but a shadow, said Miley Cyrus, that always accompanies the good. God laughs when you take the poison he made, said Smoochie. Ooh, say what now? Found is here. I think I've seen you here before. Good to see you again, man. Nature is a vessel. There is no good or evil. Yes, there is that nature, right? That is just that chaotic, random element of nature. So there's the capacity for evil. But when a lion eats a gazelle, that's just instinct and the natural order of things. Predator, right? And well, victim. Predator and prey. What are the Jewish views on lust and premarital sex? So, Josiah, it depends who you ask. If you ask the Orthodox halachic rabbinic faith, right, then there is no sex before marriage. And lust is something that you need to tame to some degree, right? Only once you can control it to some degree, then you can let it free. To the degree that you can control it, to that degree you can let it loose in the right time and the right place. Some say lust should play no part whatsoever. But some say, no, you should definitely be lusting after your wife, in times when you are pure and ritually clean to each other. And there is, even after you're married, there are times when there is no sex. If you keep the laws of family purity in the days of Nida, or the days of the Shiva Nikiyim, if you choose that, right? For about 10 to 14 days on average, Orthodox Jews do not touch each other, do not even pass something from one hand to the next if they're just alone there. All kinds of rules having to do with family purity. You can look them up, right? And menstruation and the cycle and the checking and the cleaning. There's strict halacha there. There's more lenient halacha there. But there's sometimes a prohibition on sex even after you're married. The Torah says a week. Oral law did its thing, and now it's more than a week. But Torah says a week. And lust is something that has a positive root. It's there to facilitate, right, that call and that sexual desire that is being made manifest, right? Biologically, hormones, testosterone, right? The sexual drive has to do with survival, self-preservation, the meaning of life itself as an ongoing thing. All of that packed into that. So lust does have its place, and if you are called to shed that material lust, then yeah, you should probably answer that call. But it's not necessarily seen as a negative thing when you give it its proper time and place in ritual purity between you and your wife in a committed marriage. Why is the word goy so funny? I don't know. Why is it funny? What's Jewish thought on masturbation? So the Torah and the oral law, once again, there are people who say there is no difference and one is the other, so to speak, and that they came as one. Masturbation is not mentioned in the Torah specifically. What is mentioned is the sin of Onan, the son of Judah, who did the pull-out method because he did not wish to impregnate his late brother's wife, Tamar. So Onan, and then it was supposed to be Shelah, but then it was Judah with Tamar. The was evil, Ra b'nei Adonai, in the eyes of God. Onan refused to perform the mitzvah of Yibum, right, of carrying on your brother's name through impregnation and insemination of your late brother's wife. What's called Yibum. And so that was what Onan did, right? So he got all up in there, and there was penetrative action there, and then he pulled out and he spilled his seed on the ground. So what's mentioned there is that it was not good, not because he spilled the seed, but because he did not give the seed to his late brother's wife. That's what he did wrong. That is what's known as onanism, onenut in Hebrew, from onan, meaning masturbation. However, the Jewish view, Orthodox view, coming down from oral law, is that it is prohibited. It's called zera levatala, seed in vain. And halachically speaking, you should only be shooting semen like an arrow into your woman, or oral and anal works too. If you're practicing or doing different things and you suddenly ejaculate because it gets too, that's okay. That happens. But it should be something that is primarily for procreation, for intimacy, for connection, and something that should not be wasted or spilled. Every sperm is sacred. Every sperm is good. Every sperm is needed in your neighborhood. Who is that? Tell me in the chat. Now, I have a different view on masturbation because I do believe that we are a sexual people. I am a very sexual creature. I do think that there is an element of self-discovery and self-curiosity and sexuality, and from a very inquisitive sort of part of life, not not a question of self-pleasure for the sake of gratifying an impulsive desire per se, though that may also make itself manifest. Do you feel bad afterwards about it has always been my go-to, regardless of halacha that does not permit it at all. The Zohar famously always is talking about spilling seed and wasting seed. There are many very, very harsh things to say in halacha, in the Talmud, in the Zohar about spilling seed and wasting seed in vain. So I do differentiate between masturbation and self-pleasure. Even if the action is the same action, the intent behind it is completely different. And also, you need to ask yourself, is it just me, myself, and I, or am I bringing something external into the fold? That also changes things greatly. So if you want to go on the straight and narrow and know what the Orthodox Jewish faith says about masturbation, that it's wrong, that there's like, some people will say no returning from that sin, it stays forever, all of that, all of the angels, all of the demons you're creating, the ruchin and shadin and lilin from the sin of masturbation is the most awful thing in the world. There is no repenting, and you must abstain at all costs. Shmirat habrit, shmirat ha'inayim, keeping the covenant, keeping the eyes pure at all costs. A book like Taharat HaKodesh, Rabbi Aaron Rata, if I'm not mistaken, lays out in horrifying detail the Kabbalistic and spiritual implications and results and consequences of spilling seed. That's a book I don't want to read again. It was too heavy for me. I can't. That's the basic view. Now, I also think that if you actually immerse yourself in just how horrible it is, you will end up in a very dark, sad, lonely, bitter, resentful, self-harming place, because you probably won't be able to live and carry on as a functioning member of society, knowing what you know about what it is that you are doing with your masturbation habit. Ugh. But I believe that self-pleasure is permissible in the Torah. I believe that self-pleasure differs from just, I guess, run-of-the-mill masturbation. I believe that it wholly depends on the individual. Halacha will disagree and say, no such thing. Shmirat habrit, pagam habrit is awful, right? Okay. Am Israel Chai, did you drink today? Yes, I did. I drank coffee and I drank water. I'll have another swig of water. Oh, pardon me. Does that not mean you have a lustful heart? Let's put it this way. The Torah, traditionally speaking, even though it says it's better to purge yourself of it. If you are lusting after your wife while you're together in purity and ritual cleanliness as a married couple, I say go for it. It says, right? Therefore, a man should leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and they become one flesh. There is that idea of being completely naked, completely into each other, completely all up in it, with that sexual energy pulsating, and like you could feel it between you, like that heat. That's something that is encouraged by the Torah. And if you want to take it to that higher place, there are certain things you can be thinking during ejaculation and before in order to elevate the act even more. Now, if it causes you to have problems with performance, maybe don't do that so much and, know how to be there for your partner. But if you can do certain things and still keep the mind not lustful and the heart yearning for that unity of the divine masculine and feminine presence that you are right now in your coupling personifying and carrying out de facto in reality, coming together, knowing each other. Da'at, right? Da'at being the bridge that leads into the higher sfirot. Okay. So to have a lustful heart in those moments, I would say, is not from the onset a negative. And if you are called to purge even that, and to be like it says in the Talmud, kamishak fa'oshed, like be just still. Not like a starfish, I suppose, but maybe a little bit like a starfish. And the most important thing about sex is that there is the very famous Talmudic teaching about the master that was having sex with his wife, and his student was under the bed. And he was like, "The hell are you doing? Get out from there! What do you think you're doing?" And he answered, "Torahi belilmod ani tzarich." This is Torah, and I need to learn it. It's like, yeah, being with your wife is something that maybe don't break into their bedroom and watch them or listen. Don't do that. That's too much of an invasion of privacy. But the idea of sex as being Torah, Torahi belilmod ani tzarich, guidance on how it is to behave in the world so that you bring about that true unity as true as can be, to the degree that you can manifest and manage it, right, of the divine masculine and feminine presence. Yichud kudeshav richu shechinte, the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He, and His presence, and the Shekhinah. I was in Biscuit just the other day. Ooh, I think I glitched. Am I live? I think I'm live. Okay. Hang on. Focus. Boop. Wait, come on. There, focus. Let us continue. JK, I love your work with Jamiroquai, my man. Are video games that depict magic or otherworldly beings and similar things something a Jewish man is forbidden to interact with and the like? Maybe the keeper of like Haredi halacha would say yes, it should not be something you interact with. It's not kosher. It's not something that a Jew shouldn't be interacting with. Others that are not as strict but are still Orthodox, modern Orthodox, would say, okay, not necessarily. No, it's not something that you should not interact with. As long, I suppose, as you can discern between what's real and what's not, then sure. Now, if it's something that has to do with modesty and tzniut, and like I said, people wanting to guard their eyes and guard their heart and guard their penis and their vagina, respectively, then yeah, it would be best, I suppose, halachically speaking, not to interact with things that would be immodest visually. But if they are simply otherworldly and dressed modestly, do not cause the mind to stray, then and be lustful, then sure, there would be people who would say there's no problem there. No one is intrinsically evil. We're simply corrupted by sin, says Noah. Well, there is something intrinsic in this world, and we are a part of this world, right? That is a world of knowledge of good and evil as such. But there are certain evils that are definitely inherited and are learned, let's say, not genetically. Maybe some genetically, like there's an amount of psychopaths, and there's a certain amount of sociopaths, and there's a certain amount of people in the very same way that physically, mentally, there is that thing, right, of a certain amount of the population that is a little bit divergent, shall we say, or not normative, traditionally speaking. We are not inherently evil. Some people, I suppose, are more criminal types and such. Perhaps you consider that to be evil. Some criminals work in government and wear ties and suits. The point is, we are corrupted by sin, right? Sin means missing the mark. That's what that means. And there is that potential for corruptibility, and then we are those who actually bring it into being. Hey, Satan is here. I love your work, my man. Satan XV. That's disrespectful. The correct pronoun is merfolk. Oh, you're talking about mer people? Do any of you speak Mermish? David says, in observing the current imposition of authority and the use of military and economic power to dictate. Okay, so well, something going on in the chat there. I do not know. What? I thought Nazarites were extinct. Nope. Sayed Magus or Magus. Nazarites have always existed ever since the Nazarite ship was handed down in the wilderness to the Hebrew people. The Nazarite ship exists and persists in the Hebrew people. I am just of the opinion, I have nothing to back it up with, but I believe that there has always been at least one or two Nazarites in the world at any given moment. After the recent exile and the burning of the temple at 70 by Rome, they became a lot less, because usually the everyday Nazarite would be one for a set period of time, not for life, from what I've gathered. So, yes. But yeah, Nazarites do exist, and there are a few here in Jerusalem, and I am happy and joyful to be one of them. James says, are you a follower of Hashem, or you left the faith? No, I do follow the Torah and the commandments to the degree that I do. I have my own relationship with Adonai to the degree that I facilitate it and carry it out in the world. So yeah, that's what I have. But I know I grew up religious in Jerusalem, but I no longer consider myself on the derech. Samson found out the hard way. Sin will find you, blind you, then grind you, says serving my Redeemer. Yeah, which is why you need to be cunning, just like the adversary is. And you need, wait, is there music? Oh, more music? Okay, let's go with different music. Here we go. Okay. Wait, I need to get back to the tab. Oh, wait. So yeah, sin will find you, and you need to be ready for it. You always need to be not in a struggle, not in a strife. Although Ramchal in Mesilat Yesharim does say that it's Hamilchama HaChazaka, the strong battle. But I think that it's futile to fight oneself. Some people do have that capacity. I don't. I'm more into wanting to submit to the good side rather than fight the bad side, and to live my life in such a way that I will be able to make manifest more of the good side, and in doing so give it more attention, and in doing so strengthening it and giving it nourishment. And so at the times that I can leave something evil behind, I take advantage of it, and that helps to inform me and keep me in formation, so that I can then tackle the things that make themselves manifest that I cannot yet let go of. Can you be a Christian and a Jew at the same time? Yes, you can be a Jew. Let's say you're born a Jew, and so you are biologically like Jewish, halachically Jewish, and then you convert to Christianity. So you are considered a converted Jew, but a convert and a Jew at the same time. Now, can you be halachically speaking? I don't think so. I think if you have a Jewish mother, you are Jewish. That's what halacha says. Before that, it was the father. So you can have a mother that's not Jewish, and you could have a father that is a priest of the tribe of Levi. You are not part of the Hebrew people because you were born to a Gentile mother, not of the Hebrew people. But were you to convert, then your biological father infers upon you, if I'm not mistaken, the tribal affiliation. Will you be able to serve as a priest? Halacha probably says no. But can you become one in a certain sense by coming under that tribal affiliation of the father? Maybe in some spiritual way, if not halacha, right? So in that sense, you can be a Jew and a Christian at the same time, but you can't really. I don't think so. Rabbi, I'm not a rabbi, JOST. I'm just a simple dumbass. How do you unlock 100% of the brain activity like in Lucy? Well, I don't know if Lucy does give you 100%. I have no idea. But the way that I unlocked the very elastic and very malleable and very flexible nature of life, for me personally, was through the study of the Tree of Life and of Kabbalah. Because it shows you just how, all the things I said, right? Just how, let's say, flexible and malleable and influenceable reality is. And that has to do, I suppose, with the amount of brain activity that you allot for those investigations and for those teachings, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through a different practice or one of the commandments or learning Torah. You unlock, if you're a Hebrew man, you unlock much of your brain activity that you do through the study of Torah and the carrying out of the commandments and the cleaving to the Hebrew covenant. That is how you maximize your brain's potential. Can it be done in other ways? Of course. For the Hebrew man or woman that cleave to the Hebrew covenant, this is our go-to. For other nations, other people, I do not know. But I know that for the Hebrew people, this is how you open your mind. This is how you unlock different things in the brain that might be dormant or might be inaccessible in other ways, and or in other ways that you so far have experienced. The study of Torah, the study of Kabbalah more so, but the study of Torah as such can open up your brain. And it's something you need to go all in on, they say, because Kabbalah is like a bride that is currently an affianced and will not give you her entire self until you give her the covenant of marriage. And you say, yes, I'm all in with you. The Torah is like a teasing affianced. You don't touch each other, right? You're just circling around with that sexual tension, the looks, the flirts, the wishes, the wants, the whims, the desires are all there in potential, not yet made manifest. And once you give the Torah your life, the Torah can then open itself up to you like a bride on her wedding night, so to speak. And from the affianced stage of things, you move on to the next level of full partnership in the physical as well. The Torah manifests itself to those who give it their all. The Torah opens up to those who give their life to it, right? Those who die at the tent of the Torah. That's something that certain commentators have said. And others have said, no. All you need to do, you don't have to investigate any depths of Kabbalah or the 10 Sfirot. You just need to do what the Shulchan Aruch, what books of halacha, right? The halacha you follow, rabbinic law, do what they tell you to do. If you merit it, something will be revealed to you. Simple. And the brain activity thing has to go with that. Because that means using the tools, just like we have microscopes to look way into the cells, let's say, and into subatomic particles with an electron microscope, and just like we have the James Webb and Hubble Space Telescope that let us see, and telescopes here on the ground, these massive constructions, in order to enlarge the capacity for sight, because we have a spectrum of sight that is very limited. We want to make it even broader, so we use tools to see things that we cannot biologically see. And you use the tools, and you craft tools of Torah and commandments and cleaving to the covenant, and you craft and fashion for yourself the tools to widen your spiritual understanding and the brain activity in your day-to-day life. Whether it's a Kabbalist that is in meditation with yichudim and unifications of names, or whether it's the run-of-the-mill dude on the bus with a kippah and a little beard who's reading Tehillim, reading Psalms. Your mind. What is your mind aiming at? What is the lens through which you are viewing the actions you're carrying out? What is it you want to do? What are you pursuing? That's, I think, how you make more of your brain activity. All right. I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds, says Satan. Cool. Rajdeep says, tell me you know nothing without telling me you know nothing, bro. Just straight up denying real theological arguments. Well, I'm assuming it's an argument going on in the chat. But yes, to know nothing is something that people aspire to, right? All I know is that I know nothing. Was that Socrates? Ladata, right? The Lao Tzu as well in the Tao Te Ching, to know that which cannot be known, to investigate that which cannot be investigated. Someone give this man a bar of soap. No, I use like a shower gel in the shower. I don't use a bar of soap. I don't have anything against it. There have been times when I was gifted this like naturally made soap with bits of clove in it and stuff. Not clove, that would be too sharp. Bits of stuff in it. No, not if you sand it down, I suppose. So yes, I think they had cloves in it as well. Yes, it did have cloves. They were sticking out of the bar of soap. Cloves and other things, right? Essential oils. People, it's been 2 hours, over 2 hours. I am having such a blast here with you. I'm not done yet. Just a quick aside to say thank you. I deeply appreciate your time, your kind and gentle attention, the questions, the comments, the haters, the lovers, the Nazis, the spammers, the trolls, It's so much fun. The people in the DMs. If you want to hit me up in the DMs, Hebrew Nazarite across the board. Look for my tree. I'm on X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I don't post, but I'm there for the DMs because I love engaging with people. I can afford to do it. By the grace of the Most High, I've been given more time recently to engage in these live streams and in back and forths with you good people. And I give thanks and praises to Adonai for allowing me, for giving me that privilege and the honor of being able to press go live. And there's energy here, there's a conversation here, there's a discourse here, there's a dialogue here between you and I and between other people in the chat. I hope it's more civil than not civil. Hey, Serving My Redeemer just gave more money to charity here in Jerusalem. Bing, 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 bing. And I thank you so much. I deeply appreciate that. Wait, I can't, oh, because it's not a comment. I can't like or heart it. Okay, I get it. That's fine. That's fine. I can, in theory, raise the dead. What's up? Yes, Josh, in theory, you definitely can. Are you from government? No, Gorjan or Gorjan, I am not. Charles Manson? No, Satan, I don't think I'm Charles Manson. Didn't he have a swastika on his third eye? Or in the vicinity thereof? What bands do you like? Pink Floyd and Radiohead are my two loves, my two great loves in music. But I like, classic rock, some alternative rock. I like some metal. I like classical music. Andrew Dupree says, hello, God bless you and your family, and many blessings to all. Many blessings to all indeed. May God bless us. Blessings. We need some blessings in this world. Good morning, says Jevinde. Hi, Jevinde. Good to see you here. Where are you from? What are you doing on this lovely Wednesday morning? Have you ever had cinnamon in your coffee? Yes, I have, Omar. It's good to see you again. I have put cinnamon in my coffee on occasion. Not a fan. Not a fan. Esad, so since you mentioned Nazis, do you see a big difference between Hitler and Bibi? I think I see a big difference between Hitler and Bibi, between the Nazi regime and Israel's regime. I see major differences, and I will leave it at that. But one more thing I will say: Israel is not 100% blameless. Israel is not 100% innocent. It is a government. It is a system. It is an army. It's intelligence agencies. It's counterintelligence. It's chess, right? What did Denzel Washington say to Ethan Hawke in Training Day? The shit's chess. It's not checkers. Something like that. It's chess, not checkers. And I am ever, though I like playing chess and checkers, I'm more of a checkers man than a chess man, I suppose. I know nothing of what goes on behind closed doors. I know nothing of anything to do with higher echelons of government, army, military, any military. Do not know. Zangari says physics doesn't recognize divine intervention. No, this wasn't luck. This was divine intervention. Do you know what divine intervention means? I think I know what it means. You mean God came down from heaven and stopped these bullets? That's right. That's what I'm saying. God came down from heaven and stopped these motherfucking bullets. Where's that from? Let me know in the chat. How many areas of physics is in the Standard Model? I'm not a physicist. I have no idea. I would say it's what? Space, time, and those dimensions therein. I'm thinking. Physical allows for additional dimensions. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Right? We live in a multiverse of multiverses. Mark says, would you consider any person in the Israeli government a war criminal? Well, I don't know enough about the government. I know that there are those who are ideally in their ideation, perhaps war criminals. Do they actually give the order? Do they carry war crimes out to the degree that they can, as not in the field, but in the governing faction that gives the go-ahead and the green light? Probably there are war criminals in the army and in government. I wouldn't suspect at all that they are the majority or even close. Do they exist? Yes, by virtue of the fact that these are systems. And if you take them as a whole, as a 100%, a few percent of them will be psychopathic, homicidal, with like all kinds of disorders, or I don't know what, just by virtue of sheer dumb chance, let's say. And the idea that within a certain system and within a certain civilization, within a certain society, you will have an amount of people like this and that and the other that splits up by percentages. So roughly a couple of percent are homicidal people who shoot for fun and want to kill and have that bloodlust and who are genocidal, who would gladly eradicate every last man, woman, and child in Gaza, do they get to carry out their evil ideation? No, and if they are, then they are war criminals, those in the field and those in the offices that decide. So, I will allow that there is a chance that there are individuals who do that. The doctrine of the army is not evil or genocidal, and the intent and the actions generally that are carried out, I don't think are genocidal or evil. But I can't tell you exactly. But I will allow that, sure. In the government and in other systems like the army, definitely you'll find those people. A chance. Yes, chance. Because I don't know. That's why. Because I don't involve myself in politics. I don't involve myself in government. I haven't voted in 20 years. I don't involve myself in knowing who said what, when, about what, and how, and blah, 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 blah. No, I don't need that noise. And it is indeed noise. The only time where I actually tune in is when an active war is going on. Otherwise, I don't read the news. I don't, listen to the radio, the news radio. I steer clear from it. And the things I do need to know are told me on WhatsApp by family and friends who know me and who know that I don't listen to news. And so, yes, I say a chance because I don't know. I know that there are, for instance, a few religious extremists, right-wing people will call them extreme right or alt-right or I don't know what, people on the extreme of that bell curve of the right. And I know that people many times ask me about Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. I don't know them. I don't know their policies. All I know is that they are part of the government. What's up with the boat? Says no thanks. Incidentally, I was listening to Akira the Don with Goggins. Who's gonna carry the boats and the logs? You don't know me, son. Yes, Goggins. People, do you like Goggins? What a beast. Whew. Why do you look? Why you look like a stoner who smokes every day? The beard, the hair, the schnoz. I don't know. You pick a feature. Incidentally, I don't, but I definitely look the part. That's why I look. Smoke weed every day. Where is that from? Do you agree that denying the Holocaust equivalent to denying the genocide in Palestine? No, because there is no ongoing genocide in Palestine. Israel is fighting a defensive war against terrorist organizations. That's not a genocide. The numbers, the actions, and the intent do not align in order for it to constitute a genocide. And even the International Criminal Court of Justice took it back. They said, no, actually, there is no genocide. We don't have enough evidence at all. It was a theory or a hypothesis that did not pan out. So there is no genocide. Are there individuals committing atrocities, war crimes, crimes against humanity? Probably, and they should be in jail or dead. They should be put to death, according to Torah. If they're murderers, they should be put to death. So it's not at all equivalent to the Holocaust. I know people love to make they conflate, they contrast, they compare World War II and death camps and all kinds of things, right? Open air prison, they've been called. I think that is terrorist sympathizing propaganda and nothing more. And there are, of course, innocent people who are suffering in Gaza and the West Bank and in Israel, for that matter. Many, many people. That is the realities of war. And Israel is fighting a defensive war against terrorist regimes that are interested in annihilating it, not in peace, not in prosperity for their people, not in elevating the quality of life of those whom they govern, not even close. They just want Israel gone and the Jews dead, gone. You can't have a partner for peace with that leadership. There is no genocide going on because the numbers don't back it up, the intent does not back it up, nor do the actions back it up. So however you want to choose to look at it, horrible things are going on. That is the nature of war. Israel is not blameless and is not an innocent little lamb. But there is no genocide going on there. Of course, there will be people who deny this and say that I'm blind and that I'm stiff-necked and that I'm a fool and that I don't acknowledge this and this and that. Feel free to say that. It's all good. We can disagree. We could agree that people are dying. You say it's a genocide. I say it's not a genocide. People used to hate terrorists. What happened, says Joseph? I think that people are caught up in the images from the media and in an ideology they think they have some sort of a connection with to some degree. And whether it's the David and Goliath, predator, prey, victim, victimizer thing, I don't know. But That's, it seems, what's going on. But they aren't murderers if they only kill goyim according to the Talmud. Wrong, Isad. There is a militant opinion in the Talmud that is not brought down as actual rabbinic law. Many things that are said in the Talmud do not end up being anything that you must believe in or carry out or adhere to a little. The Talmud is a series of conversations. It's a series of debates. It's a series of arguments and folklore and legend and myth and tidbits from spanning hundreds of years, like many hundreds of years, maybe more. And definitely more, actually, because it brings as anchors different parts of the Bible, different verses. So, according to halacha, you're not allowed to murder a goy. You're allowed to kill in self-defense. You're allowed to kill in a war. You're allowed to kill if you're the Sanhedrin and that person was found liable and the verdict is death. And that barely ever happened. A Sanhedrin, a Hebrew court that would execute someone, was called lethal if it did it once every 7 or some say 70 years. So even though the Sanhedrin had the capacity and the ability and the authority to put people to death, and even though across the entire Torah is smeared that constant, kill that person, oh, that person did that, kill him, it barely ever happened. So, they aren't murderers, they only kill goyim is bullshit. And just because a certain opinion appears in the Talmud does not mean that it actually came down as being binding halachically. It is not rabbinic law. And you're not allowed to murder. You're allowed to kill under certain conditions with certain restrictions. That's killing, that's not murder. You're not allowed to murder an Israelite. You're not allowed to murder a Gentile. You're not allowed to murder, period. No exceptions. So that's not true. Esau, you are twisting and warping and misrepresenting the words of the Talmud to make yourself look like you know what you're talking about. You don't. Murder is not allowed. I'm sure you know a lot about the Talmud. I'm sure that maybe you know everything about all the other tractates and all the other halachas. On this, you are wrong. On this, you are wrong. Let us continue. I finished my water bottle too. Almost. Fuck haters says, I stand with Israel. Thank you, fuck haters. I appreciate that. Let us stand with humanity. Let us stand with all earthlings, and let's hope that peace and love and justice and righteousness reign. That knowledge of Adonai covers us like water covers the seabed. Talmud is a rabbinic debate. Torah is God's word. So, Ocean, again, that's oral Torah that was written down. That was never supposed to happen, but it happened. And then it's the written Torah. Both of them are God's word in a different revelation. The written Torah manifests itself as the masculine presence known as Tiferet. And the oral Torah manifests itself as the feminine presence known as Malchut. And the written and the oral, which was again supposed to remain oral and was only written down out of necessity, that's something that screwed us up a little bit. Screwed us up a little bit for sure. Do you support Israel, says Adis? Yes, I do, and I support peace. More than specifically, yes, I support peace and de-radicalization of both sides and justice. That's what I want to stand with. But yes, I'm Israel. I'm Israeli. I'm a Hebrew in Jerusalem, and I support Israel. I don't support everything Israel does 100% of the time. I don't follow the Hasbara doctrine to a T. Shreya says, do you know anything about the secrets of creation in the Sefer Yetzirah, which brought to life the golem humanoid spiritually as described by the Chabad? So it wasn't Chabad. The Maharal of Prague was not a Chabadnik, as far as I know. But anything about the secrets? Yes, I know that Sefer Yetzirah is a wonderful book. I know that there have been many serious commentaries on it. I know that it's something that you need to study ideally alongside a proper kosher master. The Sefer Yetzirah is brought up time and again in Pardes Rimonim, but the first chapter of Pardes Rimonim almost immediately brings to bear the Mishnahs of the Sefer Yetzirah on how many Sfirot there are. So, do you know anything about the secrets of creation? I know, right? Look, I began studying the lore of the Tree of Life when I was 16. I'm now 43. And I still consider myself, even after these years, studying introductions to introductions of introductions. So do I know anything about the secrets of creation? That they are not secrets, they are revelations that will come to you or be passed to you when you merit it. If you build it, he will come. If you create that vessel, materially, physically, and mentally, spiritually, if you create that vessel, then you will be able to absorb and manifest and channel that knowledge, right? Knowledge has to do with knowing, like knowing someone biblically is bringing unity. If I know anything about the secrets of creation, all I know is the 10 sfirot, right? And the secrets of creation there are laid out in Sefer Yetzirah with the 32 netivot chokhmah, right? 32 netivot kliot chokhmah. 32 paths of wisdom, of chokhmah, and the 50 gates of understanding, 50 sha'arei bina, the Taf Resh Chaf Amudei Keter. These are all levels through which you understand reality and the flow of reality. And in that sense, the secrets of creation are not secrets. They are merely you discovering that within yourself, insofar as you relate to it in being the image of God and the 10 sfirot, and you are manifested physically. So the secrets of creation I do not know. I know that Sefer Yetzirah is a fundamental Kabbalistic text. Some attributed to our patriarch Abraham, some attributed to Rabbi Akiva ben Yosef at the time after the destruction of the temple. But either way, it's a monumental book. Joanna says, what do you advise for people who study the Tree of Life without guidance? Ooh, be careful, because you got to be careful either way. You got to be careful either way. You should always be discerning. Always be discerning. Because if you veer off the path even a little bit, so when you do it, it's just a bit, but over time, the trajectory can lead you down something that's very far away from where you were aiming at first. If you are going with the Tree of Life studies without guidance, I will say that if you're a Hebrew, adhere to the Torah and the commandments, right? What does the book of Proverbs say? I said it earlier. In all your ways know him, and he will straighten your path. In all your ways know him, and he will straighten your path. So if you're studying Kabbalah and if you're studying without a guide, first of all, it depends. Did you have a guide and then leave him or her? That's one thing. Did you study from scratch without a guide and are just continuing doing that? I advise against that. I advise at least at first, until you feel you can veer away or walk away or walk your own path, or I don't know, or that you don't need a master, I don't know. But it's very personal and idiosyncratic, these things, and individual. Until you feel that, go with a kosher Kabbalah from a kosher master. That rudimentary understanding needs to be in place, immovable, unshakable, or you could make many, many mistakes with what the Zohar says. You could make so many mistakes with what books like Sefer Yetzirah, right? Sha'arei Orah, Sefer HaBahir, Pirkei Heichalot. You could, if you're studying the Tree of Life, I say keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. That's what I say. If you're doing it without any guidance, keep it simple. Let us continue. Scrolling down. What the fuck is this? Says Kuru to Enpoi. Hey Kuru, how you doing, man? It's whatever you want it to be. That is what's amazing about this chat. It's whatever you want it to be. Whatever you want. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to do. I got you, man. I got you. My brother in Christ. I'm not a Christian, John Smith, but I'll address the question nonetheless. What kind of ice cream do you like? So there's like and there's actually partake of. I don't have the ice cream that I truly like because I'm vegan. I haven't had dairy in 16 years. So I don't have the ice cream that I like in the sense that that's what because what I love or what I like are things I no longer partake of. What I like within the vegan thing, things like tofuti cuties are lovely. I don't have them often, but when I do, they're so lovely. What kind of ice cream do I like? I don't know. I mean, I like sorbet because it's plant-based. I want that Rick and Morty shirt. Philonetic says, yeah, my woman says, here, take that. I bought it for you. I think you'll like it. And I do. This is scary, says away with fairies. Now, away with fairies, do you mean like do away with them, no fairies? Or do you mean to fly away with fairies? Do you mean fairies as in the legendary creature? Do you mean fairies as in a quasi-slur for homosexuals or gay folk? I'm curious. Okay. We make our own meaning in life, says M1000 ABC. I agree, right? People say, what is the meaning of life? Right? To give life meaning. What is the purpose of life? To live a life of purpose. I'm making tiramisu ice cream. Ooh, Isad. I've never tasted proper tiramisu. I've tasted vegan tiramisu. I've never tasted proper tiramisu, but I mean, wow, it tastes really good. I can only imagine what it's like with real milk and real cream. Mm. Sorbet is pretty good. Fair enough. Yeah, I like it. I do like it. That's usually like it. Read Osho. So, Adid Wivedi. I read. Is it Sefer Halochlum, the Book of Nothing? Hang on a second. Let me see. Osho, Book of Nothing. Is that his? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. The Book of Nothing. Is that Osho? Yes, it is. So I read Osho's Book of Nothing when I was, oh man, I must have been 16 or 17. I don't know. And and I enjoyed it a lot. There was wisdom there for sure. Ocean says, I noticed you are religious. I don't know if you're talking to me because I don't define myself as religious. How science minded are you? I have no mind for science, but I definitely appreciate those who engage in it. And my own mother is a researcher of molecular biology. So, yeah, I've been brought up on the idea that science and the creator go hand in hand, and one strengthens the other. Take care and have a good life. Thank you, CatMat22. May you have also a good life, a beneficial life, a meaningful life. Let's continue. Esau says, no cream egg whites whipped to meringue. I'm a traditionalist. With my tiramisu. Cool, cool, cool. Tenebris says Talmud isn't scripture. That's correct. It's not classic scripture. Right? It's not. It wasn't canonized in the Bible. It was canonized afterwards. Orthodox not always right, says Josh. Confusing tradition with law. But basically, overcorrect versus not correct at all in whatever areas. I hear you. So in short, Orthodox, but stuff to go over one Orthodox, hell no. Okay, I understand you. To some degree. How many years has it been growing your beard? Ever since it started growing, because I've never shaved it off. There was a time when I was a very mid-teen that I had a wisp of a mustache, and so I took it away, and I had a couple of hairs here, tiny little like shade, yeah, like a shadow over here, and I used to shave that so it doesn't look weird, to the degree that I thought it might, with a shadow of a mustache and a shadow of a little beard on my face. So I only shaved that a handful of times since it wasn't really growing. So I suppose it would be, if I'm 43, I don't know, 20 something years, because I never shaved it. This is my original beard growth. I never took a shaver or a razor to this. Peach fuzz, yes, exactly. Now, there was one time when I was in basic training that I had to shave because the alert went up, not for the civilian population, but for the military population. We had to, for instance, have our gas masks at hand, and those who had beards had to shave them off. And I've told this tidbit before, and I see it as so telling and so instructing. Okay, in my yeshiva, in my army unit, in my platoon or my company, right? We had a company and a platoon. My company was made up of yeshiva boys, and I was a yeshiva boy, and I went into the army a yeshiva boy. So we were beinishim, bnei yeshivot, sons of yeshiva, right? Yeshiva guys. And there were two of us who grew our beard on principle. One of them was me. I had a wisp of a beard over here, just a few little, like a very short and tiny thing that didn't really look like a beard. And there was one other guy who was growing a proper beard from scratch as well, never having shaved it, called Shneel, a Chabadnik, a man of Chabad. Me and Shneel were told, you need to shave your beards. I said, okay, I grew it, l'shem yichud, I'll shave it off. This is the military. I'm in uniform. I'm a defender of Israel to the degree that I was as a basic trainee, right? Still early in basic training. And I had to shave my beard, and I said I grew it for the unification, and I will shave it off also for the unification. This is what I'm being told to do, so I'll do it. Right? I'm a soldier, and it will grow back. Schnell spoke to his rabbi on the phone. His rabbi told him, "Tell your commander if he could just wait until the morning, and if in the morning, he didn't have a big bushy thing. He had also a bit of a small little beard." And he said, if in the morning he tells you need to shave, then you shave. But ask him for tonight to just not do it and do it first thing in the morning. And sure enough, I shaved that evening, went to bed, in the barracks, clean shaven. Not that I had such a beard before, but, without those wisps. He went to sleep with his beard, and during the night, sure enough, the alert went down. The security alert, the DEF CON, right, went down. And in the morning, it was gone, never to return again while I was still in mandatory service. That alert of needing your gas mask next to you and shaving the beard, it never came to pass ever again. And that was something where I woke up with a clean face and he woke up still with his beard and he did not need to shave it off. Why? Because he spoke to his rabbi. His rabbi told him, wait until the morning. Ask your commander to wait until the morning. Now, both of us did what we felt is right. I felt I received the order to shave. This has to do with actual necessary, right, duties and combat readiness. So I grew my little thing. I'll shave my little thing. And then ever since that day, ever since that night, I've never shaved again. So I hadn't really shaved until then or since then. And that was when I was 20. So I haven't shaved in 23 years. And before that, I hadn't shaved barely ever for a few years before that too. So I love that story. I love that story so, so much. It really shows you something about listening to the rabbi that has merit. And even if you say, oh, it's just a freaking coincidence, you're ascribing to it something that's, it's just, it was just happenstance. It was just coincidence. It was just something that happened. It just so happened that you two were growing it. You shaved it. He kept it, whatever. Doesn't mean anything. But I learned something from that. I really did. Anonymous says, just another mentally ill person. I don't know if you're referring to me or not, but yes, I am. Falling deeper into psychosis, definitely. By yelling into the void. That is this weird-ass parasocial shit. I don't know if my shit are that parasocial. My shits are pretty normative, I think. How do you wash your dreadlocks? So I shampoo my scalp, and I put conditioner from the mid-lengths to the end, and a hair mask as well, if I have it, from the mid-lengths to the end. Occasionally, I haven't done it in a long time. Maybe I'll document it, because there's bound to be a lot of gook. Or not a lot, but some. I do a baking soda apple cider vinegar rinse. And that's how I wash them, right? So I wash the scalp and keep it clean with a vegan shampoo, right? A vegan shampoo. Sometimes I use something that's more with oils, and sometimes I use something that's more clarifying. I should switch to something more clarifying. I condition once every month, sometimes even more than a month between conditioning. I usually just put shampoo if and when I do, and even that is once every week or a couple of weeks. If it's dirty and I feel, like dirty, of course I'll shampoo my scalp. If I worked very hard and I was sweating and like I can feel the burning sensation, then of course I'll wash. But usually, I mean, I shower almost daily, but sometimes, usually my hair is up in a bun. I'll shampoo once every couple of weeks and I'll condition once every couple of months. I would say that's the average. But if there's a need and I feel dirty or there's literal dirt on my scalp or my dreads, then of course I'll condition and I'll use shampoo and I'll wash it. So yeah, it's important to keep the hair. It's important to keep the hair in fairly good condition. It's dirty. I can see that from Australia. Could very well be, Mark. Could very well be. Bits and pieces of clothing, of fabric, and different. I don't know. I mean, does it look dirty to you? I don't know. Doesn't look that dirty to me. Doesn't look that dirty. I don't see anything on it really. Do you? I mean, there are bits and pieces here that maybe are barely discernible because I wear clothes. I take off shirts. There's. I don't know. I don't think it's dirty. I think I take care of it pretty well. There's no, I've got no real dandruff. I've got no real beard druff in the sense that, like, you can see it from. If his hand is grabbing hair, only one hand free. Ah! 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 Ha! Ha! Scrolling down in the chat, scrolling down. You look like the Haredi. Are you one of the Haredi? James, I look Haredi? Do you even know what a Haredi is? No, I'm not a Haredi. Unless you're speaking of something else, I'm not Haredi. Give me your honest opinion, says Shreya. Will AI take over all our jobs soon? Should we worry about it being more intelligent than us? I don't know enough about AI to properly address it. I know that there are the doomsayers and there are the naysayers and there are the proponents and the pushers. My honest opinion is that AI will invariably take more jobs. However, I think that will free people. There will be no small amount of friction. But I think after the AI revolution is more instantiated, if you will, in society, maybe it is already, I don't know, but when it's more fully integrated to the degree that it will be legally, ethically, I don't know how these things will work, but when it's more integrated into society, I think it will give us more liberty to pursue what we truly want and to be able, as the author David Data says in The Way of the Superior Man, to give our gift to the world. It will be able to free us to some degree to truly take on a burden that is ours individually, a burden that we are meant to carry out, that we are destined to carry out and to carry physically. But I do not know. Do you ever use your dreads as a pillow, says Maddie? So I don't sleep with a pillow. I sleep with my dreads sort of laid out over here, and I sleep a little bit on my side with a bit of a sheet or a bit of a. I don't use a pillow. I haven't slept with a pillow in years. So, do I use my dreads as a pillow? Only occasionally, yes. Occasionally, yes. If I'm let's say against this wall, so I would put my hair in a little bun and I'll have a little cushion. So yeah, sometimes I do use my dreads as a pillow or a cushion. Yeah, I do. Thoughts on the Talmud? That it should not have been written down, but seeing as it has been written down, then explore it and see the wisdom and see the militant things that should not come to pass. Yeah. But understand it in context, understand the nuance, understand the fact that this is a physical manifestation of a spiritual root. And that even though certain things that are written in the Talmud are batshit crazy and incomprehensible how someone could write this and make it part of halacha, there is the spiritual root and the esoteric meanings of all of those words and all of those sages and everything they did and all the controversies. And so you need to take it in context, I believe. Temporally and when it was actually codified and written down, the fact that there's not only halachic discussions there, but also different tidbits and different sayings, right? Memrot and agadot and legend and folklore and myth. Right? Those Hasidic Jews are crazy with those suits they have to wear. So they don't have to wear it. It's simply something that's been integrated into the Haredi society only for the past few hundred years. It's 17th or 18th century European nobility. Hang on a second. Let me see which one it is. Clothes. Clothes of Haredim European nobility. Maybe something aristocratic. Traditional Hasidic and ultra-Orthodox men's clothing originate from the 18th and 19th century. Rather than adopting biblical attire, Eastern European Jews adopted the formal frock coats, silk robes, and fur hats worn by local Polish and Slavic nobility and upper classes. So that's what it is. It's the Polish and Slavic nobility and upper class. Has nothing to do with Judaism, nothing to do with the Torah, nothing to do with the Hebrew faith as such. So, ever thought about a trim? No, never, Natural says. I mean, there was one time I trimmed my beard just a little, just a few hairs here to make it more even, and that was many years ago. It has since grown. I don't trim my beard, I don't trim my hair. That's it, I let it grow wild and free. So they really aren't Jewish. No, they are Jewish in the sense that they keep the Torah, they keep the commandments, they keep their version of halacha. They were born to Jewish mothers or they converted, and so they are technically, practically, in all ways a Jew. But the clothes that they wear and that they see as some sort of a uniform has its I think everybody knows this. It's common knowledge because there's nothing like this ever before that, right? Slavic and Polish nobility, that's what it is. Do the clothes make the man? Yes, they say, and this is our uniform, and we keep it's modest, it's black, it's respectable, it causes you to feel the burden and the yoke of the Torah and the commandments with the hat on your head. But it has since become such a divisive tool, a judgmental tool, I think, that like the kippah itself for the non-Haredis, and within the Haredi community with their different hats and their tassels and the fringes. And so, yeah, your payas are in the back, your payas are in the front, your payas are to the left, your payas are to the right. Your payas are huge and curled, or you keep them wild and free. Do you keep it, just a tiny little spring? So it's like so much, so much. And the problem is that instead of bringing people together, these religious traditions and customs differentiate people, and they cause in-group, out-group thinking. That is the nature of Hasidic courts, right? Our rabbi, your rabbi, our tzaddik, your tzaddik, right? Our sage, your sage. And there is merit to it because there are 12 tribes. But what is it that we are aiming towards? The idiots then insisted on being called an insult. Josh, well, I guess you're talking to someone in the chat. You believe in Jesus Christ, Death says. I believe he is a righteous dead man. No less, no more. A righteous dead Hebrew man. Free orcas at SeaWorld, says Natural. You mean they're free as in they don't cost anything? I'm sure SeaWorld costs money. Enter, at least unless you know you. Says Spooky. Hey, Spooky, good to see you again, my man. Here, let's do the... Are you threatening me? I am Cornholio. I need TP for my bunghole. That was my Beavis. And this is my butthead. Hey, Beavis. Huh? What do you think? Akuma Micha Selassie. Akuma. Akuma as in I shall get up, I shall rise, or Akuma as in bent? Are you of the, are you connected to Haile Selassie, or is it simply Selassie as in the Trinity? I mean, that's what there is as well. Are you a Linux user? No, I've never used Linux. I've been always a Windows guy ever since it first came out, 3.1. That's not the first one, but that's the one that I used as a boy or a teenager, right? 3.1 in middle school, 3.11. And I've never used a Mac regularly, only here and there. And I've never used Linux or Linux, however it's pronounced. So no, I haven't. Religion all shit, says Natural. Yes, there is that element of shit to religion, but I believe that there is also the element of that which can grow from the shit. And sometimes you need to take the good with the bad in the sense that this is a world of good and evil. And definitely modern day organized religion has the tendency and the capacity and the propensity, some would say, the potential of being corrupt and being, controlling and being dismissive of others, being racist, being bigoted, being hateful and spiteful, malevolent and supremacist. And I choose to not focus on all of those negative attributes. I choose to focus on the positive attributes of organized religion, despite its terrible facets and despite all of the division and the difference and the segregation in the negative sense that it brings into the world. I believe it has a root of grace, kindness, benevolence, peace, and righteousness to it. And I want to live my life in such a way that gives more attention to those than the former attributes. Jiggle. Hi, Jiggle. Are you Jew? Yes, I am. I am of the remnants of the kingdom of Judah. And waiting for the Messiah? No, I am not waiting for any Messiah. If there is a king anointed in Israel, great. I will bow down to him as a commoner, like any other king of Israel before him. He is a king. He received the throne and the crown, and he is to rule, and he is the sovereign. But I'm not waiting for a Messiah. I'm simply living my life in such a way that will be able to bypass the Messiah or bring him about, whatever the case may be, whichever comes first. I want to live the life of a more Edenic mindset and more Edenic behavior to the degree that I can do that here in the world. Because we were kicked out of Eden. We cannot bring it yet 100%, but in the times when I can. And in Eden, there was no king. In Eden, there was no Jews and Gentiles. In Eden, there was no throne or crown, but the crown of humanity. And the throne upon which the human being made in the image of God is to sit, right, in dominion of all creation and to be a steward and a caretaker of the earth and of all creation. So, we don't need a king. We don't need an anointed one. But if one comes to pass, yes, may it be so. We will arrive at a consensus and a unity as a people and decide somebody to be crowned. That's already in and of itself an amazing feat. Are you using front or back camera? I'm using the front camera. Why? Should I do it with the back? Should I flip? Why do you ask? I'm curious. Maybe the music is activating noise canceling. I don't know. But I will turn the music off. Boop. Sangari says our existence and death is exactly the same as before our birth. Absolutely nothing. Yes, nothing in the sense that this is something tangible, something I can relate to, something I can comprehend. Like you right now have a mind which is comprehending the words coming out of my mouth, the sounds, the vocalizations, and the syllables, and you can attribute certain significance to the way that I'm constructing my words from letters, inflection, the the actual vocal communication, the non-spoken communication. The soul is eternal. Well, again, eternal in the sense that it is something that is not of this world of knowledge of good and evil. The soul traditionally comes from the world of Bria, the human soul, whereas the physicality comes from the world of Asiya. It wasn't the music, lol. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on. I really don't. But hey, you know what? In a few days, I will get paid. My final paycheck from this job. Wow, going on a new path, blazing a new trail. I am. God willing, may it be so. May it be so. But yeah, I'm gonna get my final paycheck from this job that I held for over 11 years, and I'm starting something new. So hopefully, I'll be getting all kinds of benefits and things, and I'll be able to buy some proper or more proper and more adequate equipment, like a little fuzzy microphone or a different type of microphone. What people don't understand is, says Natural, yes, 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 what is it that people don't understand? Or people in the chat, complete the sentence. What people don't understand is... Complete the sentence. Natural 9743 demands it. Greg says, why are Jews trying to destroy every European country, the US, Canada, and Australia through subversion? See, you're coming at it from the point of view that Jews are a subversive element that wants to destroy. And I think history proves you very wrong, even just at a glance. Just at a glance. Very critically, academically, historically speaking. Okay? That is the wrong assertion to hold. Now, if you're talking about the fact that Jews are in different positions of power and key areas of industry, control, finance, banking, and you want to say that that's subversion, that flies in the face of everything that's written in the Torah about the Jews just doing their own thing. The Jews they're the Hebes, just doing their own thing, not being like the nations and not seeking to destroy them, but to do our own thing. The Torah, the commandments, the covenant, to live it out in the land of our forefathers. That is the essence of the Torah. That is the essence of the commandments. So, what subversion, to what end do you believe is the Jew a subversive element? What is the end game? It can't be taking over. If that was the case, the Torah wouldn't, they would say the Jews need to control the world, the Hebrews need to control everything. No. We don't need to dominate the world. We don't need anybody to convert. If people want to convert, tfaddalu, mazal tov, yalla, go for it. Alchemy Salt Oil says, you know how many rabbis I've seen on video say they want to destroy the West because it's Rome? Yes. And I also know rabbis that would say, no, that's not the case at all. Do your own thing. They follow their ways, we follow ours. They follow their path, we follow ours. Not one is better than the other. Just do your own thing. Concentrate on you. Focus on you. Live your life. Zangari says, as soon as you call yourself anything but human, you will try to justify your ideological intolerance against us. Are you talking to someone else in the chat? Again, I'm not sure. Daniel says, some Polish nobles thought that nobles come from Japhet, Jews from Shem, and peasants from Ham. What do you think about this? I think that sort of caste thing is problematic. Oh, my phone only has 5% more. Hang on, I gotta charge. Oh man, it's not. Wait. Where's the other? Okay. What do I do? What do I do? I need to charge. Hold on a moment. I'll put it in here. No, it's only a C charger. Okay. Give me a second. I need to get an extension cord, or that's not good. Or should I just say goodbye? How long have I been on? Oh, almost 3 hours. Almost 3 hours. Should I keep going or not? I'm gonna get an extension cord. It's right hereby. In the meantime, let me know in the chat. Should I keep going? I have less than 5% on my battery. I'll be right with you in just a moment. Okay, extension cord goes in, and the plug is being inserted into the phone. Okay, now I need to go around to my chair. Ooh, as long as I'm up, I'm filling up the water bottle. Okay. Let's keep going for a bit longer. Why not? I'm enjoying myself. Oh. Hello. I'm back. Okay. Let's see what the chat said. Should I keep going or not? The chat. What did the chat say? Ask Hashem for a better battery life miracle. Thanks, great noticer. I just might do that. Wait, let's see that I am charging. Yes, I'm charging. Okay. Damn, what the, says Harmon. Hi, Harmon, Kevin. Harmon, Kevin. Cool. Who's that painting behind you by? Which one is it? My mother-in-law's mother. I think that's her. I think that's hers. If I'm not mistaken, yes. My mother-in-law's mother. My woman's grandmother. Gaslight says, hi, I think I've seen you before. What happens to Hebrew folks who cannot grow hair and beard due to illness? Nothing. They simply can't do it, and I hope they get better. That shouldn't stop you from taking, for instance, the Nazarite vow. All the Torah says is if you do have hair, let it grow wild and free. It doesn't say you need to have hair or a beard. To wit, there are bald women Nazarites, or at least at some point there might have been, I'm sure, who had no hair or beard and still kept to the covenant of the Nazarite. Grandma-in-law. Yeah, my grandma-in-law, exactly. Aren't Jews supposed to be nomads? No, Riley. You might be thinking of the sons of Rechav. The sons of Rechav, of Yonadav ben Rechav, Jeremiah, at the behest of Adonai, called them to one of the chambers at the temple. He put goblets of wine in front of them. And he said, drink. And they said, no, our father Yonadav told us not to drink and not to be settled down and to remain nomadic. And then God tells them, see how the people of Rechav listen to their master and their forefather and their senior, and the people of Israel don't listen to me. Tell them that the sons of Rechav will always be stand before me because they adhered to their father's will and carried it out. The Jews are not supposed to be nomadic. They were nomadic, whether you say that they were nomads here in Canaan and then Egypt, whether you say that they were nomads here in Canaan without Egypt, who simply differentiated themselves from the Canaanite tribes that they used to be a part of. But now, the land of Israel, right, is here, our ancestral home. So no. Alfie, hi Alfie. What are your thoughts on violence in the Jewish Bible, particularly the killing of the Canaanites? Once again, that it was a genocide that was commanded, and it was carried out to the degree that it was. I think that it's that sense of, let's say, purging a certain evil from the world, not ironically what people want to do to the Jews. They call us a wicked, evil, cancer parasite, and that we should be eradicated in the very same way that we eradicated the 7 nations and that we are commanded to eradicate the Amalekites. So the killing, I think it's that judgmental and fierce element of the divine revelation, right? The gvura, the din, the judgment, the harsh judgment at that, the harsh judgment. In the covenant between the parts, God tells Abraham, that only a few generations later will your progeny, will your seed come back, because the sin of the Emori is not yet complete. Meaning, the Emori and the people who were of that land here in Canaan, they had not yet sinned to such a degree, or transgressed, I should say, because that's not the same thing. They had not transgressed to such a degree that the divine revelation brought its wrath upon him. And later on, a few generations later, they had not repented, they had not atoned, they were behaving in reprehensible ways, and they were not respecting themselves, and they were not respecting the land. And so God says, okay, I'm giving it to the children of Israel. It doesn't belong to the children of Israel. They are caretakers and stewards of this land, just like humanity is caretakers and stewards of creation as such. We were selected to take care and be stewards of this land. And if we screw up, we get kicked out. It happened a few times already. Might happen again if we continue screwing up. The Canaanites were there as something that had to be purged from creation. And you can think that that's very harsh, and you could think that that's very, very wrong, that there's no moral, ethical justification whatsoever, and I'm supposed to be basing my life on this shit. The Torah is a Torah of good and evil. The Torah is a Torah in the physical world. The Torah is a Torah of doing and of action, and sometimes there is evil in the world. And sometimes you need to bring a decisive victory in order for peace to reign. I know many people say, and I've mentioned this before, that having war for peace is like fucking for virginity. What are you going to do? There are times, and this has been proven, where screwing for virginity, that's not a thing. Fighting, gaining a decisive victory over the enemy, and then having peace rule the land, that has been played out time and time and time again. So if it comes to pass, I hope all war, conflict, bloodshed, and murder is taken away. I hope all death will be taken away. Even right now, as I am speaking these words, may it be so. We have not yet come to that point where evil is completely abolished, and there are still parts. And the Torah makes this very clear. God says, this is not because you're so righteous, people of Israel. No, you're a stiff-necked people. You're harsh. And it's because of your ancestors and your forefathers and foremothers that you are granted access to this land. It's because of their transgression and their wicked ways and malevolent actions that you are being rewarded with having this as a legacy and an ancestral home. Not because you're so high and mighty and hot. No, not at all. You're rebellious, cantankerous, and altogether a pain in the ass. But you can be better and you can do more. Other nations have their task. Israel has our task. The Canaanites had to go. That was the command. I cannot fully comprehend its physical, the way it materialized as war. I cannot fully comprehend that. And how a God that is, but there are different revelations in this world, and the revelation of judgment, of a cold, harsh, calculating judgment. Of they got what they deserved, they had time to repent, they didn't do it, and now you got to give the devil his due, so to speak. And there's now no more time for merciful action to pull things back from judgment to the middle pillar of harmony. Now is the time to act. Now is the time for evil forces to be eradicated from the world physically, not conceptually, not spiritually, not in the spiritual planes. Here, with a sword and a spear and a dagger and a knife and a shield, and blood everywhere, and mutilation, and horror. Horror. That is war. That's what I think. May it never come to pass. May no other genocide happen. But they did happen. You would make a good D&D dungeon master, says James. I've never played D&D. Ever. I am Jack's lack of awareness. Yeah, Philonetic, I'm a Fight Club fan too. Lightway says, when the Jewish are killing people, they believe they are going to heaven. Keep this in mind that they are not damning them. Well, heaven or hell, those don't exist in the Hebrew faith, but for all intents and purposes, when evil is snuffed out of the world, it fulfills its purpose. Evil and death came into the world in Eden. Evil and death will be taken out of creation and out of the equation back in Eden. Before we partake of the fruit of the tree of life, or through the consequence of partaking of the fruit of the tree of life, singular, we will then be elevated from a world of knowledge of good and evil, dual, plural. So, in the very same way that, and I want to be very careful because I don't want this to sound as if I'm giving evil free rein. I try to refrain from evil and from dealing with the evil forces in the world. But there is definitely the presence of evil in the world. And there's definitely some evil that can be redeemed, and some evil that can only be eradicated, and that is the fulfillment of its task. That is the fulfillment of its mission. What's called tachlit. And tachlit, which means purpose and meaning, is also from the tongue of kilayon, which is nothing. So that purpose of that evil is to go back to nothingness and not in non-existence. But it's very difficult. It is very difficult indeed to reconcile such horrors and say, yes, there was a divine revelation that commanded this. Men, women, children, infants, toddlers. He's actually a rather chill guy. I don't know if you're talking about me. Hi, fan maid. Good to see you again. Oh, gotta get the door. Hold on a moment. Hey, how you doing? You had a good time?
It's great.
Huh?
Whose phone is that?
It's mine. I'm still going live. It's just without the cover. Because people said I was having microphone trouble. People said I was having mic trouble. So last night and this morning, people, let me know. How's the mic? Can you hear me? I just passed the 3-hour mark. Good people, thank you so much. I deeply appreciate your time and your kind attention. It's nice to have you here. I'm really loving this live stream. This fuck has visitors? No, it's not a visitor. It's one of my kids back home from camp. From summer camp. What about science evolution? I'm a fan of the Fusion verse shorts. I'm a fan of science and of the theory of evolution. I think it coincides with Genesis and the account of creation in the sense that it's a progression and it's a linear thing and it's phases and it's the blueprint of reality as we know it, from the physical to the highly spiritual and everything in between. What's the difference between you and the Taliban? I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but there's a major difference between me and the Taliban. Alchemy says, Jews don't believe in heaven or hell. Tenebris have no interest in that false religion. Yeah, we believe that there are such things as temporary waiting rooms on the way to a greater cause and a higher elevated life. That's why afterlife is afterlife, after we partake of the fruit of the tree of life. What people call afterlife is after death, not after life. Serving my Redeemer says, Tohu vavohu. Tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tehom. Why do they all look like this? Elder Aaron says, hi, Elder. Wait. They all look like this. Do you look like me? A little bit. You have my you have my genetics. You have.
That's of course.
What's the difference between me and you? About 5 bank accounts, 2 ounces, 3 vehicles. That's a difference. Shai Mielman is here. Ross is here. Hey there, Ross. Philip Gerard. Hi, hello. I'm going to celebrate Hanukkah in December. How is it 8 days long? It's 8 days long because it's basically the 7 days of Sukkot and the 8th day of assembly. When the people of Hashmonai, right, and the revolt, when the revolt took out the Hellenistic thing, right, that was over Jerusalem, and they purified the temple, they wanted to celebrate the holiday of Sukkot, of the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Booths, Sukkot. That is why it's 8 days long, because we have the 7 days of Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day of assembly. What y'all talking about? We are talking about faith, spirituality, religion, self-development, underarm farts, underleg farts, and anything you basically want to talk about. MM to content. To content or to content? And thank you for being over here. Hang on a second, my wife is texting me. Just a moment. I need to copy what she said and transfer it to the thing that gives me the text instead of the voice message. Hold on a second. Forward. Yes, I want to forward that to. Do you people have this, right? Where you have a transcribing app?
That's an app.
Yeah, it's an app on. It's an app. Okay, hold on a second. It's going to come through in just a moment. Okay, well, I'll give it a second. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay. Okay, so wait, I'll answer her. All good. Go in peace. I am telling her. How's work? Okay, let's continue in the chat. Fanmate says, what other major religions does Judaism have the most syncretism with? I mean, some things having to do with theology are closer perhaps to Islam. Some things to do with values are closer to Christianity. Certain things that have to do with origin are more Zoroastrian. So it really does depend on what of Judaism you look at. Thank you, MM. God bless you indeed. Blessings to all of you people out there from Jerusalem. Ay, ay, ay. Jews are jokers, says MTV. Yeah, the Jews, there are some funny Jews out there. That is for sure. They are the ultimate insidious hobos. Ooh, I don't think I've ever been called an insidious hobo. I haven't called a hobo, likely insidious as well, but I don't think there's ever been somebody who put those two together so delightfully. MTV. I loved MTV when I was a kid, when it was an actual music television. But, forget all that. It's always nice to have something new. I love first times. So thank you, insidious hobo. I like that. Lucky you can't tell them from looking at them, says MTV. Huh? So you're talking to me or someone in the chat? I really don't know what to tell you. Fake Jew, says Immaculate MM13. Okay, what is a fake Jew? Please tell me. I'd love to know. I know he's talking about me, but I'm the archetypal thing, right? So what is a fake Jew actually in reality? Daniel says, what if the Amalekites already went extinct as a distinct nation? Yes, they did. We don't know who they are nowadays. They no longer exist to be destroyed. And so we can take it and leave it in the conceptual, the intellectual, the metaphysical. And I hope that the physical commandment will no longer need to be carried out. And we will be able to go back to that root we have of a shared humanity where there is no Jews and Gentiles, no Israel and Amalek. At the root, we are one. Israel and Amalek are one. There is no differentiation. That is why in Purim, we are told, right, to not be able to tell the difference between blessed is Mordechai and cursed is Haman, because there really isn't a difference in the higher realms, and only in these lower realms do we see good and evil. Can you teach us a Hebrew word? Yes, the word kisufim. Kisufim means longings. That's the plural, because it's a beautiful word. Also, the word for internet, mirshetet, from the term reshet, the word reshet, which means net. So mirshetet is internet. Of course, nobody uses these terms.
Why not English?
I mean, people use kisufim. Where is Moses' stick? I don't know, Faramar. Where is Moses' stick? That is a very good question. Where's his staff? Hebrew looks pretty hard, says Arzu. Arzu. Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm bilingual. I know it from birth pretty much, but I've been told that it's really difficult to study it.
If you don't know the language, then it's hard for everybody. No one can learn it.
Yes, but some languages are easier than others. For instance, there was the proposed international language of Esperanto that was supposed to take the most easiest and comprehensible factors of every language and sort of make an amalgamation, put them together as one language. That would be easy to learn and easy to speak.
Gibberish.
No, not gibberish, Esperanto. Do you like Aerosmith? Yes, I do. I haven't listened to them in a while. I mean, they're new stuff. I don't know if they're doing any new stuff. But, yes, I love Aerosmith. I think they're awesome. I went twice on the Rock and Roller Coaster in Disney World. Yeah, that was fun. What do you think about Freemasons? I have no general opinion about them one way or another. Religion cannot coexist with reality. Okay, you're allowed to think that. That's okay, Zangari. I disagree, but that's just me. I'm not gatekeeping or saying that you're wrong. Do Samaritans count as ethnically Hebrew despite not following Judaism? They do. It's Samaritan Judaism. They have their own, right? The Shomronim, they have their own thing, and they have Hagrizim, and they still have an altar there. So it's not following Judaism as Orthodox Judaism, but they do have a Torah. Ethnically Hebrew, I believe, I mean, yes, in the sense that they are Samaritan Jews, right? Samaritan Hebrews. But I don't know. I don't know if, like, on a genetic level, it could still be discerned. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. This sneaky chosen has avoided all my Talmud quotes. He is a slippery chosen indeed. Juan, once again, if it's the same Juan from before, and I don't know if it is, but this is now me laying eyes on you after the first time, which was like 2 hours ago. I don't know. You think that I'm avoiding you when in fact I've never even seen your username in the last couple of hours, if that is indeed you. And if it's a different Juan, hi, hello, welcome. I'm not avoiding, I'm not ignoring, I'm not censoring, I'm not filtering. I'm not intentionally going, woof, I don't want to answer that. I simply don't see it because there are over 60 people here. Hi, people. Over 112 likes. What fun. I give thanks and praises to you for the vote of confidence. And I am a slippery one, but I'm not chosen. I consider myself, selected. Yes, I'm just an ordinary human being. That's right, not chosen for anything in particular. We choose the Torah. The Torah chooses us, right? The divine revelation that pertains to the Hebrew has chosen the Hebrews. But it's not a question of superiority or supremacy. What about the gates of Toledo? That sounds so familiar, but nothing rings a bell. I don't remember what the gates of Toledo are, but it really, truly does ring a bell. I don't know. Arzu says, I know you for 2 years and I see you frankly and honest clearly. If you're talking to me, okay, I mean, you see me in the sense of the negatives, the positives. After 2 years, what have you have to say? I'm curious. If you know me frankly and honestly. Aren't we all genetically from Africa? Yeah, the fusion. There are those who say that the cradle of civilization is Africa. Some say the cradle of civilization is Mesopotamia, in that area. I don't know. Good response, says Juan. It's just the truth. You know, the world is horrible, says Guetta. Yeah, it definitely has its horrors. It also has its benevolence, its wonder, its grace, its kindness, its love, its peace. There are, right? Its joy. However, yeah, there's also that. Blessings of Elohim on the hearts of the righteous and truthful, says Joseph. I agree. I agree. All human hell, says Guetta. Yikes. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying that I, for one, try to pay more closer attention to the positive things and try to go in those ways. And even though I do not turn a blind eye to the horrors of creation, I don't necessarily, just like I don't put myself through watching gore on the internet or something. I know that it will definitely not do me any good. In the very same way, I try to involve myself more. Gore is people being executed, people having their skin peeled off, going through all kinds of accidents, people being run over by cars, people. Gore is guts and blood and mutilation, and whether it's on the autopsy table of a doctor or whether it's happening in a factory where someone gets his hand sliced off and the veins are all popping out. Yeah, exactly. What a face he just made. That's gore. But that's not the movies. It's people actually going through this in real life. This happens. That's gore. What's this channel about? Hi, Brussels 3026. It's faith, spirituality, religion, self-development, farts, burps, whatever you want to bring to the table. There you go. Nothing like a well-timed belch. La briotte. Okay. Wait. Don't you talk to her like that. There is no her here right now. Have you ever done psychedelics? Yes, K-Nog face, I have. I am a fan. I don't partake often, but yes, I am a fan. As always, harm reduction, test your drugs, set and setting, be mindful, respect the substance, respect your mind, respect your body, and integrate the experience. So yes, I have synthetic and organic. I'm a fan of psychedelics, but I say always that the bulk of a person's psychedelic experiences should come from the inside out and not from the outside in, whether it's a mushroom or a chemical or a plant. then it's something that can be used, and you can supplement your life and even your spiritual life if it's a supplement. But to discern and to always be with a proper set and setting, and not to make the mistake of basing your mind revealing existence on mind revealing substances. Right? The Torah and the commandments tell us to do this exactly. The psychedelic element comes from the inside out and not from the outside in. And if you wish to also include different synthetic or organic materials and substances and mind altering things, by all means, but do it right and know your medical history and mental illness in your family. Take it all into account. That's part of respecting the substance, right? And part of respecting your mind and your body. But yes, I am very much a fan. I've always ever had very good trips. Microdose whenever you get the time. So yeah, I've never done that, but I've heard very good things about microdosing. Very good things indeed. Let us continue. You stupid, says Goethe. Again, are you talking to me or not? Make it clear. Tag me. Tenebris says, no need to. We made new items. Oh, okay. I don't know. They're having a back and forth there. So, hey, Drive Y2M says, shalom. Shalom to you, Drive. Where are you driving to? Or what is your drive? Oh, very good. You have a hard drive. Greg, you are Ligner. What does Ligner mean, Luna Brown Eyes? Or I6? Hello. Why you don't eat pig? Because it's not kosher and I don't eat animals. That's why I don't eat a pig. It's true. What do you think about this existence? I think that there are many different levels of being and different planes of existence. We have the capacity to run the entire gamut of them with our body and our soul and our mind and the connections therein. I think this existence is, as they say in the Mishnah, that it's like the foyer before going into the banquet hall. You know, you walk in from the cold or the rain or the snow or I don't know what, or you take a look in the mirror a minute, you spruce yourself up a bit, make yourself more presentable, get the lint off, I don't know what, straighten up the suit, tighten the tie, take a breath, give yourself some eyes in the mirror, and then go into the banquet hall. Do your thing. And this is the time when we are in between, right? We are in a place between places, between the outside and between that banquet hall. We are here prepping ourselves, trying to do the best we can in order to prep for that time in Eden, right? And partaking of the fruit of the tree of life. And only through knowing the good and the bad will you be able to truly earn and merit that Edenic fruit of the tree of life. Only after you've been through this life, maybe many times over, until your task is complete. That is this existence. It's a temporary existence. In a blink of an eye, right? I could drop dead in 5 seconds from something that I didn't know was coming. In the very same way, existence is very temporal and temporary. And it's important to act in this existence with thought and with word and with deed in order to facilitate the best sort of life that will invite that Edenic element and those other planes of existence into your reality. Because if you live just within the very basic, rudimentary spectrum of existence, there's a lot to do here for sure. But if you are more of an explorer and more inquisitive and more curious and you're interested in revealing more to yourself, then get to know yourself. That's part of the existence. And if you're a Hebrew man or woman, I would say keep the Torah, keep the commandments, and cling and cleave to the covenant of the Hebrews. Hey, David gave 99 cents of charity here in Jerusalem with a mustache. Boink. Yiddish is mix of Germanic. Yes, it is. Hey, FDF is here. Kunal is here. Hey, Kunal. Hey, what's up, dude, man? Jewish Tarzan. KGB is in the house. Oh! I'm like a gorilla. Ah! Bro, I just woke up, says David. Hey, look at that. See, and giving to charity in the morning, first thing, that's wonderful. Good for you. Oh, the actor who played Tarzan. The actor who played Tarzan in the old school 1920s, was it Tarzan movies? He ended up, I forget his name, he ended up in a mental institution.
Isn't Tarzan animated?
No, Tarzan is a series of books, and it also was a series of movies. Yeah, 100 years ago or so, and other times it's been redone and remade and rebooted. Disney, I think, also has one. Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Just Jesus here. I mean, I believe he is a righteous, dead Hebrew man. No more, no less. Loved your song, King Without a Crown, man. Thank you, Garazion. Thank you. It's not me, but thank you. I enjoy that as well. Matisiao's King Without a Crown. You're all that I have and you're all that I need. Each and every day I pray to get to know you, please. Yeah, I'm sure you know it. What's this feeling, my love? I rip a hole in the ceiling. I give myself to you from the essence of my being. You know that one? Okay. You've heard it. You've heard it several times. What's that? Probably. James says, I want to serve in the IDF for Elohim. How do I start? By volunteering or coming and making aliyah if you're Jewish and if you are of age, and you will be drafted into the army. So I would think by calling, if you're outside of Israel, calling the Foreign Relations Office of the IDF and saying, hello, my name is James Hanna, 2214. Maybe leave out the 2214. And I want to join or volunteer. How do I do that? That's how. That's how. Is Judaism, if Judaism is man-made, would you be devastated? No, it is man-made. There's the facet of Judaism that's totally man-made by people for people. I'm fine with that. When the clown storms the kingdom, it becomes a circus, says MTV Brat. It's not bad. Not bad. All religion peak for Judaism. I don't know what you mean by peak for Judaism, Guetta. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, another super chat came in. W Song also make that donations pop up. What do you mean, pop up? They're already popped up. At least they're popped up on my screen. I'm assuming since it's a super something, it's popped up on your screen as well. Pop up more? How would that be? I'm not sure what you mean. So you believe in a man-made God? No, I don't. I believe that I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me in creation through the 10 seals, right? Through existence, through nature, through Torah, through life. That is how God is made manifest in the world. A man-made God, those do exist. Different sigils, different icons, different statues, different deities that people call them deities, and we would call them forces of nature, right? And a part of that is attributed to the one Hebrew God, and they call them deities in and of themselves. So I believe that there are man-made gods, and I believe that it is we who are made in the image of God, corresponding to the image of God that is the blueprint of creation, the 10 sfirot. We are made in the image of the tree of life. Reality is made in the image of the tree of life. And so we have a mirroring effect going on here. And when we, as Hebrews, keep to the Torah and the commandments, and we make manifest and express outwardly the divine revelation channeling through us and the 10 sfirot, and we emulate them, and we behave in such a way as to bring unity to the divine masculine and feminine presence, then it causes new divine revelation or higher divine revelation to come into existence. And in that sense, if you are saying that it's a man-made God, I would say man-made revelations of God, because after all, it is us who relate to these attributes, to these revelations. We cannot cleave to God. We can cleave to the divine attributes that God is revealed through and in. Onno van Veen. What is my name? Huh? My name is, huh? My name is, huh? My name is Onno van Veen. Onno van Veen. Not Chicka Chicka. Onno van Veen. This guy. You resemble the elderly man on the mountain in the never-ending story. What, the one with the scientific speciality? That guy? My name?
Yes, what's your name?
No, he said, what is my name? So I said, Onno van Veen, or Van Veen, or Van Veen. It's actually Onno van Veen if it's Dutch. Yeah, so you are agnostic in guise of Jew. No, I cleave to the Torah and the commandments and the Hebrew covenant. I believe in the one Hebrew God that is unknowable, untouchable, unthinkable, inconceivable, and and yes, exactly. So if that's agnostic, sure. If that's not, then no. I'm simply a Hebrew man who believes in the Creator. No, the Creator for the Hebrew people. The new virus says IDF. Yes, indeed. Are you Gandalf? Says Adam Libd. No, I mean, people have asked me that. Someone called me Timu Gandalf one time. I thought that was great. But no, I'm more of a Radagast type of dude. I'm more of a Radagast the Brown. Do you play an instrument? I play guitar very hobbyily. Daniel Deutsch, good to see you again, just as a hobby. Only chords, I don't shred that fretboard. And I recently did a demo, a single take cover of Moana's "You're Welcome" with a song dedicated to the trolls and the haters of this very channel. So check that out if you want. Hebrew Nazarite, Moana, "You're Welcome." That should pop up. Keep in mind it's a single take, with warts and all. Luna says Judaism is from God. I mean, in the sense that Judaism is revolved around Torah, and Torah was given at Mount Sinai to Moses, right? Moses was the one who actually wrote it down in a scroll and gave scrolls to the people of Israel. It is from God because the revelation that was pertaining and revealing itself to Moses was one of a higher sort. He's a one in all creation type of individual. All religions are fake, bro. You would learn this when life gets you. It's just that you've never faced any struggle. Kunal, are you serious? You think from knowing what I've said on this chat, how long have we known each other digitally? A couple of weeks? A few weeks? Tops. And you think that I've never faced any struggle? That's very naive of you and wrong, because the way that you define struggle won't necessarily be as I define struggle, so it's highly subjective. But I think even by what you might consider to be a struggle, I have faced such a thing, some facsimile thereof, if not precisely the circumstances that you're imagining. As for all religions being fake, I will say yes, all religions have the capacity for fake. All religions have the capacity for being evil, malevolent, controlling, oppressive, extremist, opiate for the masses. Yes, but there's also that other side of religion. There's also the root, as I see it, of religion, and that is not the same thing. I meant live donations, alerts, and optional TTS. I don't know what TTS is. Also, I don't know what donation alerts are. I know that in order to have a give live stream, I need to have 10,000 subs, and I do not have 10,000 subs yet. If the YouTube algorithm and the Most High God will grace me with more subscribers, then yes, I definitely will be doing this giving thing. The thing is that right now I'm taking what ends up in my bank account and I'm transferring it to different charities. In a give live stream, if I have understood it correctly, I need to pre-choose a charity, connect with it, and then give all of that to it. So I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying it's not the way that it's happening right now. Oh no, Funfane, what is your name again? What's my name again? I took her out, it was a Friday night, I walked alone to get the feeling right. We started making out, and then she took off my pants, but then I turned on the TV, and that's about the time she walked away from me. No, I'm sorry, that's what's my age again. Well, alright, it's still fine. Your name is Blink 182. Your name is Darth Maul.
Abba, your name.
No, he says, what is my name again? His. Oh no, Funfane. That's in Dutch, I think. Adam, do you support the IDF 100% except for people who are actually murdering? Murderers don't belong in the IDF. They belong in a grave or in prison. But yes, I do support the IDF. I've served in the IDF. I was discharged 5 years ago. Ono says thanks. You're welcome, Ono.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And thank you.
I took a fat poop to your stream. Lovely, FDF. A fat poop. Now, did it come out very slowly? Did you have to put some pressure? Were you feeling the anus opening like a flower? Hey, if he's going to talk about poop, then let's talk about poop.
It's
All right?
weird. It's
He said
weird.
it's fat. All right? I need to know more. I need circumference. I'm not in a movie, says my son. Really? I'm not in a movie? Don't call IDF murderers. No, they're not. Are there individuals in the IDF that may be guilty of murder? Yes, few and far between, I'm sure. The doctrine of IDF is not a murderous one, and the implementation of the international law, local law, and of the spirit of Tzahal is not one of murderous intent or action. But people die in war all the time. All the time. Innocent people too. Collateral damage is a thing, especially when you have Hamas who embeds itself into the civilian population with the express intent of raising the blood toll and the body count. The death toll, I mean, and the blood count and the amount of blood spilled. But, are there murderers in Tzahal? Likely. I don't know how many. I would think very, very few and far between. Bless IDF. Yes, indeed. May God give us victory over our enemies, and may God allow us, right? May the divine revelation of victory be with us. And may we live life in such a way that all conflict and all war and all bloodshed and all terrorism and all death would be lifted out of creation, even right now as I am speaking these words. May it be so. May it be so. Ay, ay, ay. Are you a man about town? Says Daniel. Do you know or acquaint with many in your city? No, I don't think I'm a man about town. I wouldn't say that. I'm very much a homebody. What about you people? And Daniel Deutsch, are you a man about town? Do people know you? Are there many acquaintances in the city where you live? How do you know English so good? From my parents, David the Blade YT. My parents raised me and they taught me English and they taught me the love of language. So there you go. Hello again. Random question. Did you watch the new Spider-Man movies? No, let's get cracking. I have not. Is it worth it?
There are new Spider-Man movies?
There's a new Spider-Man movie, yeah.
Oh, brand new day. With Messi.
Messi is in Brand New Day.
Yes.
Leo Messi. All right, good for him.
It's so funny. I saw the trailer.
Civilians don't deserve to die in conflict. I agree. Innocent people should not die, and yet they die all the time, constantly. Hating on others is exhausting. Do you agree? I don't know. I don't hate, but I would think that hating on others would be exhausting. Yes. Yes, definitely. Hey, Onno van Veen, you okay there? Marius says he got discharged because the Nazarite woe starts spreading. If he hadn't been disgraced, IDF would be known as the Rastafari army now. No, I was a Nazarite in the army for some years. I was discharged because I was nearing the end of age of being discharged, which is 40 for the type of soldier I was. And I was discharged at 38 because my platoon was disbanded. And the people who had only 1 or 2 or 3 years left, they already released them from duty. The ones who had more than that left, they moved them to different platoons within my regiment.
Wait, you only left Sahel.
38? Yeah, 37,
I'm
38.
5 years old.
Yes, I was still serving in the military when you were a boy. A little boy. Yes.
I wish I would remember.
Yes, there was a military operation next to Gaza, right? Protective Edge, 2014, I think. You were a baby.
I was born in 2015.
You were born in 15. So what am I thinking of? Oh, I'm thinking of.
I'm
No, okay,
I'm
right.
10 years old.
Right. No. I was thinking of Daniela of the Crown Prince as a baby.
I was born in 2001.
Do you know a word Dutch? Gezellig. Gezellig is a Dutch word that you can't really properly translate, but it translates kind of into pleasure or contentment or people who know Dutch. How would you define gezellig? IDF are Hashem's holy army, says Luna. There is indeed something holy about them in the sense that they are set apart to serve the children of Israel and the land of Israel. But the idea of a holy army is problematic, and I think that there is eventually no true nobility to war. It's something that is thrust upon us. It is something we do not want to partake of. It is something that we have gotten very good at because the IDF kicks ass, but it's only because of so much war that we have become so good at it. And that's not a good thing. We should have peace and not war. We should have love and not hate. Watching your streams with coffee is a canon event. Yes, yes, it is indeed. Solaire says, "Are you based out of USA?" No, I'm a citizen born abroad, but I've never lived in the States. I have my passport because my parents grew up in America, and then they made the ascension, right? The ascent to Zion. W says David, "What's a homebody? Can anyone explain? Somebody who prefers to be at home. I don't need to go to places. I don't need to see things. I like staying at home with my books and my cup of tea. Like Einstein says, אבל אני אוהב להיות בבית עם התה והלימון והספרים הישנים." Right? With the tea and the lemon and the old books. That song is about me. I like being at home. Task is me. Can you rub your hands together? Of course. Always glad to oblige. All right. Are you ready to clip this? People who want the happy merchant? I'll do a couple of them. That way you'll get a variety. Okay. The classic happy merchant pose. All right. Now with some audio. Okay, come on. Now a different one. Okay. There. That's enough for you to go on. You seem anti-IDF. Luna, if I was anti-IDF, I would not go in for mandatory service and stay in the reserves until I was 38 years old. No. I'm definitely not anti-IDF. I served as a field medic in the IDF, and I have had the pleasure, the privilege, the honor to serve alongside some of the finest doctors, paramedics, and armored corps personnel that have ever donned a uniform. So I'm not anti-IDF. I am anti-murder. And if there are murderers, actual murderers in the IDF, not some bullshit pro-Palestine terrorist sympathizing rhetoric that says that the IDF are murderers. I mean actual murderers who would snipe people just for the sake of it, innocent people, bystanders who had nothing to do with anything, not as collateral damage, but as actually targeting them and putting that scope or that laser beam on their head unprovoked with nothing. Innocent people. That's murder. They don't belong in the army. They belong in a grave or in prison. How many children you shoot? FDF, I've already mentioned this. You know this for a fact, I think. But if you don't, then I had my finger on the trigger twice in my life, and twice I did not have to pull the trigger. That's it. Thank God for that. Call of Duty. Well, I never played Call of Duty.
It's basically.
I know what it is. I've seen it. I've never played it. How many innocent Palestinians have you killed? None, Adam. I've actually taken care of Palestinian prisoners in my during my tenure as a field medic when I was working in a prison. Yes, I worked for a time in 2 different prisons, one for IDF prisoners and one for security prisoners. And I did my best to uphold my oath of the medic and do the best that I could do. Not one IDF is a killer. False. They are killers. They're not murderers. You kill in war. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, it's also non-combatants that die in horrific and terrible ways. David Blade, I'm sorry, there was another donation. Oh, okay. David says, tell your son to talk more because he sounds smart. Yes, he is. God willing, he'll be a lot smarter than I am. All my sons will. Are you one of those Jews for Jesus? No, I see Saracen or Saracen. I am not. I'm sorry for missing it before. I guess I was rambling and ranting and raving. Why has your president not been jailed? I'm assuming you mean the prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, not the president, who's, I think, Herzog. Did the prisoners get treated fairly? Look, I wasn't there for a very long time. Less than a month. I needed to fill a slot of somebody who was on leave or something. And I was brought in there as a medic to be part of the crew for a short time. From what I saw, they were given freedom of ritual worship. People were studying there for their degrees. They were given regular meals and medical treatment each day. We made rounds. me and one other medic and the doctor. Incidentally, that was one of the times when I had my finger on the trigger as a precaution. Yes, and there was a necessary precaution there shortly before I had arrived that day or that week, whenever it was. There was an uprising and a riot at the prison. So I'm glad that I arrived afterwards. Okay. Israel be blessed by El Elyon, says Joseph. Indeed, all of humanity, all of creation, not just Israel. Bro, why not brush your hair, says Mr. Quad Game, because I'm a Nazarite, and Nazarites do not brush or comb their hair. They are allowed to separate with their fingertips and hands, but not with a brush or a comb. Hey, Kieran is here, done with the chores, hooray, bit of lunch now, and then the afternoon in the hills of Derbyshire. You're still going, you've got stamina, my man. Hey, it's you people out there who give me the stamina. The energy here is always so wonderful, so good. I feel so blessed, and I feel so privileged and honored that I press go live and there's a conversation here, there's a dialogue here, there's a great energy and good vibes here on my end anyway. I really do appreciate your time, your kind attention. I don't take it for granted. It's no small thing at all. Certainly the contributions being made to charity here in Jerusalem that serve the entire population, Arab, Jews, Christian, whatever. And I really, really, really am sincerely touched by the people here, the lovers and the haters and the trolls and the Nazis and the spammers and the insulters. It's all good. It's all a win-win-win-win, right? For me and for YouTube and for the advertisers and the algorithm and the people who get to spew whatever, and I don't ban them. There are no mods. There's no censorship other than the minimal YouTube censorship. So yeah. Luna Brown says, love your hair. Thank you, Luna Brown. I appreciate that. Do you think we came from a space rock? Well, Steve, we definitely are currently on a space rock that's hurtling through space. And we came physically, right, through the process of evolution from the primordial soup of Earth. Spiritually speaking, we come from a higher plane, and it's that coming together of both of those elements, those core elements of physical and spiritual, that make us the unique mammalian species that we are. Gates of Toledo are when the Jews opened the gates of Spain so the Muslims could invade. Really? Is that the way that it went down? Is it the Moors at the time of the Moors? Which reminds me of Seinfeld. Who invaded Spain in the whatever 3rd or 9th century? What a joke. The Moors. Oh no. I'm sorry, it's the Moops. The card says Moops. Seinfeld people, check in. I like soup, says Paul. So do I. My lovely lady makes soup every Friday for Shabbos, and some of it remains usually until Tuesday, where, if anything remains afterwards, we usually toss it out. 4 days would be the absolute maximum that a soup could stay, depending on its constituents and what is in it and the ingredients, I mean. And I love soup. I really do. She makes a mean soup. And part of why it's so wonderful and great and also vegan friendly as far as nutrients are concerned are because she puts hawaiian in the soup, the Yemenite blend of spices that's just so, if you want people, 2 blends of spices that are good to have in a cupboard, right? It's good to have hawaiian and it's good to have ras el khanut. This dude needs 100 times the viewers. Thanks, Mr. Quad Game. I appreciate that. I don't know if it will ever come to that. Whatever organically happens, right? I don't follow trends. I don't go with what the algorithm says I need to do. I don't follow any YouTube gurus. I'm live, raw, right? Unscripted, unfiltered, just shooting the breeze with you good people here. And most people scroll away immediately. Some people stay. YouTube analytics says that the average is about a minute, between a minute and 2 minutes, which is not a lot in 180, or now it's closer to 240 hours, minutes of live streaming. But those who do stick around and those who do find value, entertainment, and thought-provoking conversation, sometimes they are here to stay. And many regulars, many people have joined recently. YouTube and the algorithm has been so very gracious to me, with putting a lot more pressure and pushing the channel in front of many new people. Thousands of people are watching these videos now, these live streams, and it really is unbelievable And I hope that I merit this. And I hope that YouTube, if I continue doing my thing, that YouTube will continue to reward the watch time that these live streams pull in. Because even though many people swipe away, those who do actually stay sometimes stay for the long haul. You're going to go to sleep? You feeling all right? Okay, take a nap. I'm going to go pick up the kids in about an hour. Do you want me to wake you before I leave? Because they probably will wake you when we get back. Maybe not. You want me to just let you sleep? All right. Rest easy, feel good. A nice midday August summer's nap. Huh? Not being in school, coming home from camp all the wiped from being in the pool. That's the good life, Sonny Jim. That's a good life. Little human puppies. God bless them. God bless them. Okay. Khawayij and Ras El Khanut. Khawayij and Ras El Khanut. Hang on, let me see if when I actually search for this, it finds. Whoops. Hang on. Sorry, I need to click the. Okay. Okay. Khawayij, Ras El. Or is it Al? No, it's Al Khanut. No, it's Ras El Khanut. Khawayij and Ras El Khanut are two distinct. Yes. Okay, cool. So yeah, you can find them both with what I wrote in the chat. As your kids are fine, Palestinian lives are being destroyed. The guilt you must feel. I don't feel guilt. I feel sorrow and pity for innocent people, be they kids, men, grown men or women, that are stuck between Hamas and between the IDF in a war that they didn't start, in a time when most of the Gazan population is under 20 and have been indoctrinated into the hateful rhetoric and religious extremist views and doctrine and dogma and actions of Hamas. And these are not the people who voted them in 20 years ago. These are people born into the conflict. These are people born into the situation that Hamas totally brought upon themselves by continuing their terrorist agenda when they had every capacity or every potential or every opportunity to declare a Palestinian state and invest in its population, raise the quality of life in the West Bank and in Gaza, and maybe the Palestinian Authority could do the same in the West Bank. But no, they want to continue destroying the lives of Israelis at the cost of their own lives. That's the leadership, at the cost of the lives of its population, I mean. The leadership wants to destroy Israel, and it will sacrifice every last man, woman, and child in Gaza to achieve that. They are all martyrs for the cause. So, no. Do you feel you've been indoctrinated in any way? Yes, of course. I grew up religious in Jerusalem. Of course, there's some amount of indoctrination that is ingrained in me to some degree, and some things I was able to let go of, and other things maybe I will re-embrace or let go of in the future. But I definitely was indoctrinated into the Hebrew faith. Hatzitzim says hi, hello. The tits. Yes, what about tits? You know what George Carlin said about the 7 dirty words you shouldn't say on TV, or you can't? Right, and one of them is tits. And he says tits doesn't even belong on the list. It's such a friendly sounding word. It sounds like a snack. Like, oh, not your sexist snack. I mean new Nabisco tits. Sesame tits and tater tits. Bet you can't have just one. That's George Carlin's bit on tits. Hey, tits. What a guy. The tits, says hi, hello. Hi, I can tell that you're a breast man, huh? A fan of the breasts? Hatzitzim. Hey, breasts are wonderful. From the A cup to the GH cup, or as Frank Costanza said, you got the A, the B, the C, the D. That's the biggest. And then George with, I know it's the biggest. I base my whole life on knowing that D is the biggest. Okay. You don't look Jewish, says Donnie's 5599. Okay, what do I look like to you? What do you think of the Baha'is? Little bit faster says, I think that they are an Abrahamic religion. They have a temple in Haifa or a shrine of some kind. I've been there, not inside, but to the gardens. I know them only very, very, very on the surface as being a peaceful Abrahamic faith. That's what I know. Which Israeli vegan dish would you like us to try? So again, like I've said before, many things that are Israeli, I don't know if there's a distinct Israeli cuisine because Israel got back here from the diaspora. And there are many, many dishes that came from exile, and we put our Jewish twist on them, but they actually are not Israeli dishes. There's an argument that there is no proper Israeli cuisine, and it's just the different people in exile that brought their culinary knowledge and know-how and lore with them from foreign lands. So, is there such a thing as Israeli cuisine if Israel is a melting pot of the diaspora? And you can always find origin of Israeli dishes in previously, again. So, it depends. But and again, a lot of it is that this place was Arabized, right? And so, Arab culture and Arab cuisine and Arab food is definitely also part of this. Even though Israel is not Arab per se, it was Arabized, and there are Christian Arabs and Muslim Arabs who live here, right? These 2 million Israeli Arabs. They could also be considered part of the culinary landscape, and they are. Have you ever visited the ancient Tibet monks for training in your knowledge? JOST, I have no knowledge of Tibet monks, nor do I know of any training that I could receive from them, though I'll bet I probably could. I don't know who the ancient Tibet. Do you mean Tibet? And by that, do you mean Tibetan Buddhist monks? Let's Google that for just a quick moment. Yeah, it's Tibet. Yeah, so Tibetan Buddhism. No, I have not been trained by any monks. Funnily enough, the word Nazarite in Hebrew is monk, which is why many people who are part of the tribes of Israel nowadays are not aware that there are Hebrew Nazarites, because the Nazarite is not precisely a monk, but as I've likened it to people who are force sensitive rather than Jedi Knights. If you feel comfortable answering this, when and why did you emigrate from the US? I did not. My parents did. I was born and raised in Israel. Jews aren't marginalized there as far as I know. No, I don't think they are marginalized there, but my parents grew up in the US, in New York, and they were like, grew up religious, and they were like, okay, if we are religious and it says that we belong in Zion and we can make our life there, what are we doing here? Obviously, we are part of the Hebrew faith, part of the Jewish remnant of the kingdom of Judah, and we need to be over there in Judea. That's what they did. It was just very, very apparent and crystal clear to them that this is where we need to go and this is where we need to be. This is not to say that the diaspora has no merit and no benefit and no place, obviously, but they felt called as true sons and daughters of Zion, right? Or a son and daughter of Zion to make the pilgrimage and make a life in Jerusalem, and they did. Kieran says, is Jerusalem comparable in any way to Western cities you are aware of? Yeah, sure. I mean, we have a light rail. We have certain shops that are completely secular and open on the Sabbath. But then again, we have a very religious element to the city as well, not the least of which is the old city of Jerusalem. It's comparable in the sense that it has an ancient part and a newer part, right? Old and modern. And but is it comparable in some ways? Yes, and in other ways, no. That's what I would say. But definitely it is comparable in some ways, sure. Does the Druze religion have any affinity with Judaism? No, from what I know, they have an affinity with Islam, but they are kind of a separate branch of Islam. They keep to themselves more. They keep the religion more close, right, like a tighter, right? Only those who practice get knowledge of the religion or the deeper knowledge, but I don't recall. Maybe it's certain texts, certain teachings that are only are transferred and passed on to those who make a commitment of some kind. I know there is that way about it. I've served with some Druze. I went through the medics course with some Druze people too. A funny bunch of people they were. I mean, so were the, so were the, so were the Jews. We had how many people were we? 40 people in the course at the time, something like that. 30 or 40 people, I don't recall. Is Jerusalem as religious as the Vatican City? I have no idea how religious the Vatican City is. I know that it is literally a separate country within Rome. Jerusalem is not that. Jerusalem has its religious sides and it has its modern, democratic, secular sides as well. But there is definitely an energy here and a positive tension here, let's say. MQ says we spend so much time caught up in all these things. Do the bare minimum, whatever your religion says, and RIP till the end. There is that idea of doing the bare minimum, right? The minimal viable Judaism. I think that's what my friend called it. In regards to halacha, he said there should be a minimal viable Judaism where everything that has a halacha, like everything that is permissible halachically, you take the one that's most permissible in this commandment, and you do the halacha of the one that is most permissible and allowing in that commandment, and you take the halacha of the ones that are more liberal and more lenient, still within the bounds of halacha, and you take the most liberal, most unstrict parts of halacha and turn it into a minimal viable Judaism. Like you said, do the bare minimum and then rest in peace till the end. There is that. There is that. John Anthony says, yes, shalom. I can't believe I never asked anyone or Google what shalom means. So yeah, shalom means hello, goodbye, and peace, basically. Do you ever go to Tel Aviv and spend time on the beaches? No, once or twice in the last few years I've done that. So not regularly, no. I don't go to Tel Aviv and spend time on the beaches. I do go occasionally, once a year maybe, to the beach. If it's not Tel Aviv, then it's another coastal city or area. So yeah. When is your Messiah returning, says Paul? Well, it's not returning. It's simply a new king that will be crowned. Not a question of returning. And it will be any minute now if we merit it, if we hearken to his words, right? Hayom ima bekolot tishma'u. Today, if you listen to his words, that is when Messiah is coming, when we merit the crowning of a king, if it is supposed to come to pass. There are many contenders for the throne walking around Israel and in the diaspora, even right now as I'm speaking these words. And if we merit it, it's up to us. Then they will be crowned. There will be a consensus. There will be the anointing of a king, if an anointing is necessary, and a king on the throne of Israel once again. What does bat mitzvah mean? Bat mitzvah means somebody who is now legally a woman who needs to adhere to the commandments. Bat mitzvah literally means daughter of the commandment, meaning somebody who is now legally, halachically bound to keep halacha, whereas before it was considered not of age. So a bat mitzvah, 12 years old, a bar mitzvah, 13 years old and 1 day. 12 and 1 day, 13 and 1 day. That is the bat and bar mitzvah, respectively. And that's the time when you are legally, halachically, rabbinically bound to adhere to all the commandments. That's what that is. זה מצחיק שהאשכנזים מנסה לדבר כמו ספרדי, said David. An Ashkenazi wanting to talk like a Sephardic Jew? What do you mean, זה מצחיק? Some people can pull it off really well. One Shiloh says, Ja Rastafari is the ruler. Yeah, Rastafarians say that, but I am, I can think of that he was a very, he had some very great things to say, and I think he was a proper leader for his people. But he is the ruler according to those who follow the either Rastafari or the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, who saw him also as a sort of second coming. How would you recognize him? He would be selected. It's not up for me to recognize him. It's like I'll know it when I see it, and there needs to be a consensus in order for the king to be crowned. Were you born into your religion? Yes, I was, Michael Tucci. Yes, I was. But I also actually chose it wholeheartedly when I was a teenager. Okay, it's been almost 4 hours. I'm going to say goodbye and have a bite to eat before I need to go pick up the kids. So, thank you, all of you. This has been such a pleasure, such a wonder, such a privilege. Be blessed, be a blessing to others, be the light in other people's lives. I'm sorry for the audio technical difficulties. In a few days, I will get paid, and hopefully I'll buy a microphone, right, to plug into the phone and put on my dash, over here on the dash. I transliterated. Dash is like lapel. So, put it on my clothes and you'll be able to hear me better with no audio coming in and out. Maybe it's my phone. Maybe the microphone on my phone is starting to go. I do not know. I thank you for sticking it out anyway, despite the audio difficulties going in and out, high, low. I don't know. I'm sorry. But if you want to hit me up in the DMs, please do so. Hebrew Nazarite across the board. Look for my tree, X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I don't post really, but I'm there for the DMs if you want to hit me up. And leave a comment if you wish. If I didn't get to you in the chat, I'm sorry. A lot of people here, thank God, by the grace of the Most High and the YouTube algorithm gods. So many people, maybe thousands, maybe hundreds, I don't know. We're here today in this 4-hour live stream. It's been such a pleasure. Truly, it has been. The lovers, the haters, the views, the likes, the subs, the comments, everything is welcome. Everything is appreciated. The Nazis and the spammers, everybody over here. You guys are awesome. I'll see you on the next live stream where the wonders never cease. Until then, peace and love and righteousness and justice from Jerusalem all over the world. A quick prayer, a quick final prayer for unity and peace. May we be able to overcome our differences. May we be able to embrace in our shared humanity. May we be able to overcome our own shortcomings and be better than who we are and be better than what we can be and truly discover what it means to give our gift to the world, to manifest that image of God in which you individually were created. To life. Thank you so much for joining. This has been so